So much of what Seymour did and I did was a collaboration, especially in the beginning. In 1968-69, we taught 7th graders for a year-long course. In place of their mathematics course, we taught them a computer course. And we had Logo on a time-shared system, and we didn't have turtles. So there was no graphics in what we did. But as a result of that experience, Seymour is the one that said that we needed something more concrete they could play with, and that's how turtles came about. In 1970-71, Seymour and I team taught 5th graders, and that's when we had turtles. We had floor turtles and a display turtle. We took over the teaching of the 7th graders because there was a teacher that we were at both Brannick and Newman, and there was a teacher that we got to be the teacher. The thing is, she didn't understand about project-based learning, and so we took over the teaching, and we did project after project with the students. And also we paid very close attention to what they contributed and what they had to say. And so that was fun. And it's still in teaching, that's what at least I do, and certainly Seymour did too. It was very important for us to let the child lead us into some sort of project. And so that's, Seymour was vital and still is vital to what I do. And what I do today is turtle stitch. So take care. Thanks.
Good morning, Fab26. Hello, everyone. So we're very excited about today. Thank you guys for being here. I don't know how we follow up on the last 2 days. We've had some of the most brilliant and amazing minds in the world here. So today is education and learning. We're going to focus on constructionism. So that's our theme for today. We're excited about that. We have some very special guests lined up. So be prepared, be ready, and we're so excited. So I'm going to talk to you guys about announcements today. And we have some Fab Blasts, and then we have a great lineup of guests. So we're excited about that. All right, let me see. We're going to go to the next slide today. Well, I need to do announcements, so I'm going to get those up shortly. Well, how is everyone? I've been at MIT Museum all week, so I guess I have to pull out my dad jokes. Yeah, so as soon as our announcements come up, we'll get that going. Is everybody enjoying the week? You have yeah, okay. You have a few days left. I hope you guys are taking advantage of your time. I've been excited to see everyone, so things you, Oh, things you need to know. Awesome. The weather today. Okay, it may rain. You guys have X-Tool bags. If you don't have ponchos, you can possibly use your X-Tool bags. They're very big and they're branded, so that's great for X-Tool. But yeah, it'll be nice in terms of the temperature, but the weather will be, may get a little rain today. All right. Documentation. If you guys would like documentation, you can scan these two QR codes here and get some documentations on various projects. There have been some great talks. I know there were some research papers that have been done, so please check those things out. Awesome. Make your tote. If you go to Fab Hub Kindle, you can grab a tote and you can make your tote of all the conferences that you've attended. I think I've been to 4. Unfortunately, I missed Bali. I had just got hired at that time, but I heard you guys had a great time. So please grab a tote, create your stamp, and show off. We want to see who's been to the most conferences other than Neil. All right, X-Tool. So if you guys haven't seen the X-Tool trailer parked over by the Media Lab, please go over there and check them out. It's fantastic. But if you could please scan this QR code. This is for the 1% for the makers. So this is a great initiative that X-Tool is doing, so please participate in that. Awesome. Graduation today, it's Academy graduation. Can we give a round of applause for all the graduates? Awesome, thank you. So yes, the reception, or the kickoff will be here at Kresge at 6:30, so please make sure you're in attendance. And then the reception will be at the museum. If you haven't been to the museum yet, it's a beautiful space. Yes, thank them. We want to thank them for hosting us there. All right, if you guys, the Art Fab Expo, that's in the Media Lab downstairs. Fab Academy is doing that. It's a phenomenal display of wonderful things there, so please check that out as well. Photography and video notice. So we are recording. There are photographers. If you haven't met Stanley, you need to meet Stanley. He's amazing. We have some other folks doing video and photography for the conference, so you may be in videos. Just be aware of that. Please respect the laboratory places. Round of applause if you've been to Fab Hub Kindle. Awesome. Have you guys been to the CBA lab? Awesome. Yes, please keep those spaces nice and neat and clean them up and enjoy them too, okay? So we're looking forward to you guys handling that responsibility. Transportation, if you got the bike code, I hope you guys are biking. I don't know if you're gonna bike too much today in the rain. I don't know if you guys saw, but the T is down, so they do have buses that are running if you're traveling. I've been walking. I think I got 27,000 steps the other day, walking Boston. Walking in Beacon Hill, up the hills, that was great. There are some more QR codes. So we have web app, WhatsApp, activities. If you want to be a part of the WhatsApp group, please scan those. I'll leave them up for another second or two. All right. KSA Networking Breakfast. So Eastern Edge is across the street from the Fab Hub Kindle, next to the museum. There will be a breakfast there tomorrow. Please come and join us. Who doesn't like free breakfast? So free breakfast is great. So join us tomorrow for breakfast at Eastern Edge. It's a beautiful space. Lunch today, if you guys know, lunch is at the 6th floor of the Media Lab. It's been delicious. Enjoy the lunch, so we'll be there today. And then sweet snacks. So we have the candy and snack exchange. I had some candy from Brazil on Monday, I believe. So if you guys bought that stuff to share from your countries, we love the cultural experience. So please bring your candy to the lunch today. We're going to have a setup so you can share those from all around the world. Awesome. So we're going to have our Fab pitch come up. I'm going to let them come up and do the introduction. So if you guys saw Monday, we had the New Zealand pitch, and then yesterday was Rwanda, yes. And today we will have another one. So are the pitch guests ready to come out? Fantastic. This is Tom Thomas. Thank you.
In 1952, MIT demonstrated numeric controls for the first time and started the era of computer-aided manufacturing, right here in Boston. 74 years later, we are all gathered here, reimagining the future once again. Until recently, transistors followed Moore's law, and Fab Labs followed Lass's law, reaching every corner of the world, doubling every 2 years. But now we have reached a tipping point. It's tougher than ever to see what lies ahead of us. Maybe by the time we meet next year, AI would be designing PCBs too, leaving a lot of us with questions about our relevance and our roles. To discuss some of these questions over a cup of Indian chai, I invite you all to Kochi, a city on the southern tip of India, surrounded by lush green hills, washed by the vast Arabian Sea, and built along a network of backwaters. Today, Kochi is also famous for its Super Fab Lab, sponsored by the state government and supporting hundreds of startups in their product development. The lab also helps students become young makers and attracts tens of thousands through art installations built by its creators and residents. And at the heart of everything we do is a community of Fab Academy graduates spread around the world, but united by the love for Kochi and for making. Our fully English-speaking population of Kerala boasts 100% literacy, 100% digital payment adoption, and 100% internet penetration. And we've been hosting India's largest Startup Beach festival for the last 8 years, in addition to numerous other innovation festivals and maker fests. And for Fab 2028, we have found the perfect venue, a 17th century Dutch summer palace built on an island. And right next to it is the Lulu International Convention Center with a 3,000-seater capacity and 30+ rooms for workshops. With a fully solar-powered international airport, water and rail metro connectivity across the city, and deep cultural roots as a trading port for Romans, Arabs, Portuguese, Chinese, and the British, Kochi is on Booking.com's top 10 places for 2026. Once upon a time, ancient spice routes passing through Kochi connected the world. Let's reconnect here for Fab 2028. And it's not just Kochi that is inviting you. There will be a hackathon in the foothills of Himalayas, beach parties in Goa if you want to stop at Maker Asylum for their Fab City initiatives, and Vigyan Ashram, Fab Lab Zero, where it all began, will be hosting a 30-day Maker Challenge before the conference. So you can, along with Yogesh, trek through the caves and forts of Ajanta and Ellora, catch the Maker train all the way down Konkan coast to Kochi for the conference. So on behalf of all partner labs in India, it is my privilege to invite all of you to Unbounded Futures 2028 in Kochi. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have our first Fab Blast from Claire Chaikin Bryan.
What's up, Boston? And hopefully my slides will come up in a second. I know that we're having technical difficulties. Who doesn't love a conference with some technical difficulties? There we go. We're all STEM professionals here. But have you ever had the thought that STEM is hard, STEM is boring, STEM is not for me? I don't think so in this room, but I think for a lot of people, that's true. It feels like STEM is really inaccessible. So how can we make it more accessible for everyone? Well, by adding a little art and creativity, everyone can feel like STEM is theirs. I'm Claire Chaikin Bryan. I'm from Lake Mac City Council in Australia. I run the Fab Lab there on Awabakal country, just 90 minutes north of Sydney. I live in a beautiful place, and if you ever have time to visit Australia, come check it out. I started my life in my career as a regular civil engineer in construction. That's me in the top. But through a very convoluted journey, here I am, and I now run a Fab Lab. And I also did Fab Academy. This is my funny video if you care to look it up. It has its own theme song. I'm a big fan of bringing creativity into STEM. I think it's something that gives it a bit of fun, but also, as I said, makes it accessible for everyone. I'm also really passionate about getting more girls into STEM. We're facing big challenges in this space across the world, and we're missing out on lots of amazing minds because STEM feels not for them. And if you can't see it, you can't think to be it. So I'm that example here that you can share with others that you know in your life, that hey, STEM can be for the quirky, arty, crazy, little chaotic people in your life, and you can do amazing things. We in Australia are still seeing a stagnation of not many girls still enrolling in STEM in university. But even worse is our statistics in industry. We're seeing them drop out. We're seeing them not value what they've done. We're seeing an industry that continues to be inaccessible. So how do we motivate young girls and women to go into STEM? Well, at my Fab Lab, we came up with one solution, the Tech Create Girls program. And thanks for some funding from the Australian federal government, for the last 2 years, we've been able to provide the program I'm going to show you today for free for over 60 girls. And they have had some amazing adventures. So here is a short video to give you a taste of what Tech Create Girls is.
Watch me now, yeah. Watch me now. Hear the sound. Hear the sound. Turn it up. You cannot block the sun. I am the only one. Watch me now. Watch me now, hear the sound, hear the sound. Turn it up, you cannot block the sun. I am the only one.
Thank you. I'll talk a bit more about that amazing work that you got to see on the screen just then. So Tech Create Girls, it's a 10-week after-school program that runs over multiple terms. We put our girls through the initial 10 weeks where they learn basic STEM and maker skills through art. So we kind of sneak those technical skills in there through fun and creativity to make it really accessible for them and make them feel welcome and that this is something they are capable of doing. Those high school girls, they're amazing and full of ideas and innovations. But the key thing for us is to encourage them not only to pursue careers in technical STEM industries, but also creative industries. So much of the skills we learn in Fab Labs can be applied in lots of different places. And of course, their work ends with a final project that you saw a taste of there. Our curriculum covers lots of different skills, from 3D printing and 3D modeling, laser cutting, biomaterials, textiles, electronics, computer coding, you name it, we do it. And of course, art is fed through all of that. We also take them through really key things. Anyone who's a Fab Academy student would know project planning, timing, knowing when you need to solve a problem and change tact because your assignment is due in the next day. It is key skills like these we also teach the girls in our program. And of course, most importantly, we teach our girls to be and express themselves. This means that the course content that they go through has meaning to them and is something that not only is for them, it's for them to share themselves with the world and feel comfortable doing that. We also dabble in a little bit of AI, but we do it responsibly. We talk to them and know that this is inevitable for them to do. So we talk to them about responsible use of AI, how to understand code, how to debug, how to edit, how to interact. And we think these key skills are really important. We also dabble a little bit of AI art as well to help with concepts. I'm going to give you some examples of the exhibitions that the girls have gone through. This is sci-fi versus fantasy. So the girls came up with a concept of we're in a fantasy land with Rapunzel and Wizard Mouse, with strawberry frogs and strawberry mushrooms. Yes, those exist in this world. And an ongoing battle between underwater sea creatures, cyborgs, and the mice from the fantasy world, trying their best to stop the cyborgs taking them over. Our other exhibition was all around them taking concepts of who they are, who they want to be, and also including a little bit of interactivity in there. That butterfly, as you walk close to it, flaps. Our alumni girls decided they want to play around with cosplay, make different items, masks, little cyborgs, and even a little boat. That boat was all 3D modeled from scratch. And of course, our latest exhibition, solving the world's problems with robots, things like a volcano robot that can research the depths of volcanoes without humans needing to get in danger. And our latest exhibition this year will be in our 360-degree projection space at Map Mima. But you're not here just to see what the girls have done. You're here to hear the lessons that we've learned. And the key lesson that we've learned in this process is that to get the most out of this program is to create a space where girls feel safe to not only express themselves, but to form friendships, connections, things that will help them grow. Helping each other, teaching each other, that is how they've held on to the skills. And also letting them be a bit quirky and do fun things like put a crazy hat on their head. My main message for you today is go away to your community, empower your young girls, show them that they can do STEM. Throw a little art in there so they feel like it's fun, but also let those creative juices flow. Make sure that you encourage girls that STEM is for them. It's not limited just to the boys. Thank you.
Next up for our next Fab Blast will be Chen Lu Lama.
Take next slide. Hey everyone. So, I think I'll intro myself while the slide starts. I am from the R&D team at SolidWorks. I'm Chen Lu. I'm an artist, a maker, an engineer, and it is my pleasure to be here today to talk to you about how to be a lifelong learner. At least my mission is to convert all of you guys into lifelong learners. And to be fair, it is not something that I think I chose for myself. It's just being part of this amazing maker community has made it so that I do feel like I have the power to do this, the confidence. And yeah, like everyone else, we really hope that you guys are enjoying the conference. Maybe I can start tap dancing. But as part of the R&D team, we are encouraged to be creative, but I don't think that mentality is often the same for everyone. For example, well, as you guys know, often you go to conferences where there might be a STEM workshop and you see lots of young creative people walk by, and they're so intrigued at what's going on, asking lots of whys and lots of whats. And to be able to see them sit down in front of a digital tool and talk about, oh, can it do this? And as they sit there and pull it together, it's just fascinating to see how quickly they can take what's in their mind and present it in front of them and iterate and get the design intent that they had in mind. And that is what drives them to continue to learn. Similarly, in a situation where you present to a group of very creative kids who really don't know how to use the tools around them, but they just know how to collaborate, they know how to naturally mimic each other. A challenge presented to them was 2 pieces of globs on the screen, and they're given the choice to do whatever they want using only the white parts of those pieces. And through their learning from each other and finding out, oh, you can pull that out that way, oh, and you can make a hole, this is what came out of it. And it was just so cool to see how they learn, and how I think we all need to tap into that inner child that we tend to forget is there. So fast forward to our colleagues. We have 2 amazing executive assistants who came to us saying, okay, we are not creative. We don't know how to use anything technical. We know you guys do. Can you help us make this thing? See, they run these talks similar to this, and they have a problem where speakers just stay on, they don't pay attention to the time, they need to get off the stage. So they want to intimidate them with a stage hook, much like old vaudeville kind of action. So they wanted to have this collapsible hook. And they just thought, you guys can do it, go ahead. But we said, no, come over, come sit down, we'll teach you how to do this. And it opened their eyes to what was possible. And since then, they've been approaching all of their projects with this maker mindset, never having had any engineering background, any kind of creative classes in their lives, but they have tapped into that part of them. And oh, by the way, Rodney, you guys need one of these in Fab Lab colors. And for another colleague who has always been, he calls himself a CAD monkey because he's so good at working on the computer, designing really cool things like this Voronoi pattern cabinet that to house all of his amazing vinyl collection. And he came to us also, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing with wood, but I just put a lot of glue and screws all over. Can you help me do this? And yeah, for those of you who play with CAD and online or modeling online, you probably know that things, when you assemble, they have this magical digital glue that just stick together. That's not how the world works, right? So it was really interesting for him to learn how to do woodworking joinery and seeing how fascinating it was for him to 3D print a tool to help him align things. And this opened his eyes to not just the digital type of creation, but physical ones that marry with what you can do with digital design. On the reverse side of this, we had another colleague who is a very good woodworker, very true to the word, skilled in many things woodworking, and he's a director or senior director of development. He codes, he helps people, other engineers, do things on CAD. It dawned on him that he could probably solve this problem differently. He was trying to he was restoring an old railing that he found. He would only have the straight one, but he needed to create the easing, and to find manufacturers that still had the tool to cut that piece was very difficult. So he thought, well, maybe we can do digital fabrication, and yes. So we helped him see that light, see that it's possible, and it turned out amazing. And now he has brought a new tool into his arsenal of woodworking skills, and it's just fabulous to see that someone who's ingrained in that technique and craft see value in digital design. Even more, I think this was one of my proudest moments, my father-in-law, who wanted to make a chicken coop in his backyard. And his thought was, I'm just gonna go to Home Depot and buy a shed. throw a few tubivores onto it, and yeah, I was just, it's good enough. That's his favorite phrase, good enough. And we showed him that we could actually help him. We'll use 2x4s too, for sure. But what you could actually do if you put some digital design in it with animation, with visualization, we help him see the possibility of customizing this to exactly what he needed. A raised bed, so he doesn't have to bend over to do the gardening. Underneath the bed is the chicken run, so he can condense everything into a small footprint, and just everything within reach that he doesn't have to hurt his back doing. And just that has now opened his eyes to all of other projects around the house. Unfortunately, we are also called for those. But now he knows that it's not just, let me just go buy something off the shelf. There's possibilities here to design this to what he wants. So here's also a really interesting project we did to open eyes that we never thought we could. Professionals, engineers, designers who are really stuck into the tools that they have. They see that CAD does one thing, and they see that modeling, industrial design modeling does another thing, animation. But we said, what if you think of things differently? Sure, let's fabricate a cool puzzle box that has combination locks that you can change the combo on the fly. But what if the puzzle existed in the cloud, online, that you can change anytime? So we created these boxes, all the same, but each of the puzzles that they tapped into with a QR code, with a prompt, had a different difficulty puzzle. And by doing so, they could get the combo digitally and then use it physically and get the goodies inside. And this opened their eyes to learning new ways to tap into physical fabrication with digital design, which was quite impressive. And by the way, mechanical engineers know how to pick locks. We forgot. So we had to make things a little harder for them to do that. And coming back to our colleagues that I have at SolidWorks, we're all software designers. Many of us don't know how to use a power tool. But we had a peek into an organization called Magic Wheelchair, nonprofit organization out in Portland, Oregon. They partner makers or pair makers with children in wheelchairs to help them have an amazing day, to have the coolest costume they could find. And what we decided to take a challenge on was, can we actually teach ourselves how to use our own tools and make things for these amazing kiddos? And here is one that we created to a request from the child that he didn't want to just wear his costume, he wants to drive it. And this is what we came up with. And we after months of not sleeping and after hours of building, you think we'll be like, yeah, one and done, thank you so much, goodbye. No, because of the fuel, the confidence, the passion that we got from learning these new skills, we thought, let's take on another one. Even better, more wheels and more foam, which is impossible to sandbag. Well, not impossible, but it gets into all places that you need to figure out how to clean out. But it was an opportunity for us to reinvent how we design these things, more accessible, more conducive to the taking on and off for the parents, the people who have to care for these kids, how we can make them more suitable. It also allowed us to tap into the heritage of the family. The source of the name, Freya, is a Norse goddess who has a chariot that's drawn by two cats. Why not design for her a flying castle that she wanted, drawn by her two cats at home? And that was a cool challenge. We had to learn how to design a 20-pound cat. Not that we wanted it to be 20 pounds, but the filament made it 20 pounds to draw the cat and how to make sure that it didn't topple over. So this was a really fun experience, and also it challenged a lot of our, again, software designers to think about how to use our tools to design soft goods, like patterns for gowns that's quickly adjustable for a growing child. And again, every time we take on these projects, we think about how it impacts the family around, the people who sees it, who engage, and just how important it is for us to hit it out of the park. And that challenged us to continue to learn more skills, like figuring out how to time the music and the lights to this chair, making the platform so that it is ADA compliant, making it being able to go on ramps, through doors. All of these challenges made it even more amazing, and we wanted to just do more. And the last costume, the latest one that we worked on, was this request from a child who wanted to do a transforming robot into a pterodactyl. I mean, wow. We didn't realize we could do it, but all of us really tapped into our creative side, leaned in, brought in new experts, figured out how to do this. And honestly, we skipped a few years since we've done this, and all I've heard from everyone is, when are we doing another one? And it's impressive that I think the drive for being a lifelong learner is not just that you are self-improving. It's what you do for the community, what you can bring back to the world. And for us, it is really for these kids who may have conditions that are terminal. It is a way for us to create not just a costume, but memories. And also that, it's for them, every day they go out the door, people look at them with pity in their eyes. But in a costume like this, they get looks of amazement, wonder, admiration, because they are the superhero that they really are. So having said that, before I break into tears, I wanted to give a shout out to my partner, my colleague, my life partner, my husband, Sal, who also is another one of these key figures who help to encourage lifelong learning. And we have a channel called Our Next Make. You can access it through all of these social media platforms. And I encourage you to find us this week. We are here all week, and come tell us about your lifelong learning experience. Or if you want to jump into it, ask us about the tools we use, what's available, and we would be more than happy to share that with you. So thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of the week.
Please give another round of applause for Claire and Chin Lu. Awesome. I see my buddy Sal made the slides. Congratulations, Sal Lama. Our next speaker comes from a great partner of ours at DF Robots. If you guys haven't tried their equipment and robotics out at the hub, please do so. I'd like to welcome to the stage Rebecca Chang.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca from DF Robot. I am the operation manager of the Mushroom Car Makerspace. Today, I will share some interesting story that what will happen in our makerspace. Before sharing, I will show you what we are coming from. I'm coming from China, Shanghai. Shanghai is the eastern of the China, just like Boston, and we are the modern city and also have traditional culture. So welcome to China, Shanghai, and welcome to our Mushroom Car Makerspace. So this is the regular event we will happen just like every labs in all around the world. We will have got the sharing, have got a meetup, have got the training, the teachers and the students, and also have got a workshop and also the campus for the kids. So we think all the aged people need to learn the new innovation, new technology, whatever how old they are. So from this year, I think March or April, we started to open the session of the vibe coding on hardware. So we invited the regular people that don't have got any engineer or programming background to learn how to vibe coding. They are kind of administrator from the company, sales from the chip design company, the teachers and the graphic designers and the students. And after maybe 4 or 3 hours session, they can be this kind of interesting. These projects all made by the people participate our workshop, and they just want to know how the AI can empower them and how the new technology can empower them daily life. So also this is the integrated a lot of Cambodians and the sensors. UniHack K10 can make the students very quickly start up their first project. So this is a story. The first story is about a PE teacher, the physical education teacher. He told me he wants to collect the physical data from his students in the physical testing, and but he said that the system that school purchase is not good very well, and he come to our workshop. Maybe this is the prototype he did. He know how to collect the data on the edge device with the accelerometer sensors, and how to transfer the data via the HTTP and transfer data to the computer, use the dashboard to visualize all the data. So he is a PE teacher. Right now, he is trying to further dig out what kind of application he can did, and also can to do in his physical testing program. So what if a PE teacher can do something interesting? So what about other teachers, other profession teachers? This is the picture I teach the web coding in our lab. The left one is the music teacher. Because she is a music teacher, she can send a very specific prompt about the piano lessons on the computer, and the AI will give him the interest application. And the left, I think, is very interesting. He is like 80 years old, like a principal at management, and he keep going on make student selection luxury app on vibe coding. So we also see the Mandarin teacher, the mathematics teacher, geography teacher, history teacher, the English teacher. They all vibe coding some interesting application in their classroom to engage their students. Okay, this is another story that will happen in our labs, because our makerspace is a public lab. So all the students come to our lab, they are organized by their school. So I don't know if the situation is same in your country, but in our country, if the student needed to learn something, but the thing will not be testing or exam, they are not interested in it. All they want to do is, okay, I'm out of school, I just want to play games, I just want to play the TikTok, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to learn anything. To me, it's very struggle. So in the end, I found a solution, teach them vibe coding game. So this is the game that we are vibe coding. The boy will sit in front of the computer, play the game, he vibe code, and debug the game, he vibe code, keep playing and debug, and in the end, he will, like 1 hour, didn't move. Okay, this is also they can make on the hardware. So this is the third story I will share to you. This girl is a graphic graphic designer. She just sees something interesting, the project on the internet. So she purchased the device from the internet. She totally don't know what it is, what the brand is, what's the sensor on it, what's the chips, what's the whatever on it. She don't know. She just think it's interesting. I purchased from the Taobao, and after he got the device, she just talked with the codecs, the large language model, maybe 2 or 3 hours. She just did this kind of Pocket Fish 10, the project that she did. So right now, she will further dig out the interesting project with Arduino IDE, and we can talk about the technology, talk about how we do on the vibe coding, on the hardware. So I will share a little about me. So I'm the administrator, operation manager of our makerspace. So before I learn vibe coding, I cannot make anything. I cannot program. I cannot code. So is there anyone like me, just management? A business background? Can you raise your hand? Okay. To me, all the conversation with my member is that turn off the air conditioning before you leave. Do not eat in the lab, and not leave the trash in the makerspace will come in the holiday. This is all the conversation I talk with our members before I learn vibe coding. So last year, the December, I started to learn vibe coding on the hardware. To me, it's very difficult because I'm very busy the whole day, full work. So I ask myself at least spend 1 hour whole day to practice a little demo, even turn on the light or show some data on the hardware. So after 6 months, I become the vibe coding educator in the makerspace. I teach the people just like me, have got no engineer background. So if I can do this, so I think all of you can do that. Because in the first day of the EDU Fab, a lot of teachers can think about the people is scared of doing something, cannot doing something. But I think if I can do that, I think everyone can do that. So we were talking about that we are from DF Robot. Our mission is empower creation and empower innovation. So today we will think the large language model is powerful enough, and all the devices provided by the DF Robot is easily user-friendly for everyone. So technology is a bridge to achieve the idea from our mind to the physical. What will you create? What will create our future innovator? Right now, I don't think the weapon, the tools is very easily to approach everyone. You can use the AI very easily to achieve an idea. So everyone can be a daily innovator. So what will you create? So we have got a booth at Fab Have Candle, and this is my LinkedIn and also my email. If you are interested in what we are doing, you can come to us and talk about. And we also have got the experience how to vibe coding on the hardware. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, I think a lot of people come to our booth and make some very interesting creative games on the vibe coding. So maybe you can do your first creativity project on the vibe coding. Okay, thank you for you all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rebecca. Please give another round for Rebecca. So our next speaker is someone, I consider her the heartbeat of the network, and I've been fortunate to work alongside of her, so I'm going to bring Sherry Lassiter to the stage. So please give a round of applause.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's super nice to see you all here this morning, especially because it's early for this crowd anyway. I wanted, before I get started on our wonderful next panel, I wanted to call out, or not call out, sorry, shout out to the kids, the Fab Kids group. So I don't know if any of you are aware of this. We have in the afternoons from 2 to 4 a really special program for young people between the ages of, I think it's 9 and 18. 2 hours every afternoon where they're learning and building. And we don't have a whole lot of people here in Boston, but what I didn't realize is that we have more than 800 young people from around the world that are coming in by video and learning with us this week. So you guys did a great job. Thank you. So the last 2 days have been pretty extraordinary. I mean, we have heard from some of the greatest minds and engineers and scientists and technology and math, experts in the field. Today, we're really turning the page and thinking about how do we develop and grow the next generation of these incredible minds. And so where better to do that than here at MIT? This is where MIT is really about mens humanus, right? This is what Sally talked about earlier on Monday. And it's really about making with your hands and your mind, and that kind of learning, or that kind of learning process, there was a pedagogy that emerged from that, and it was constructionism. And this was Seymour Papert and his, and his wonderful, amazing colleagues and a team that really developed this pedagogy and practice called constructionism, and that's what we all practice as well. And so it's interesting that just a small personal story, a short personal story, is that I took the How to Make Almost Anything class here with Neil Gershenfeld, and it changed everything for me. It opened the black box of technology, and I think many of you have experienced this because you've also done Fab Academy, which is the online version, in essence, that we spun off out of MIT to serve this global network. It changed everything, and so I went back to school. I went back because I was so excited about this kind of learning. I went back and got my master's in education from Harvard at the same time that I was working for Neil, which was an absolutely insane thing to do. And for 2 years, I didn't sleep more than 3 hours a night, but it was an extraordinary experience. But it took me How to Make Almost Anything and a master's degree before I found Seymour. And I read Mindstorms and some of his other work and some of his colleagues' work and research. And I really felt like every child ought to have the opportunity to learn this way. And so I'm very, very excited to bring on, I'd like to invite the panel, please, to come on right now. But this is an extraordinary group of people who worked with Seymour. These are his colleagues and his peers who worked over time to help develop the pedagogy and practice of constructionism. And so it's an extraordinary group of people, and I hope we'll have time to hear from them all. But I would like to introduce the moderator for this panel. Her name is Jacqueline Karaslanian. Jacqueline. Jacqueline is the co-founder of Fab Lab Armenia Educational Foundation, and she also ran Seymour Papert's lab since inception when the Media Lab started. So, Jacqueline, my pleasure.
Thank you.
I think you need that.
Okay, I don't. It's maybe just this. Good morning, and welcome to this panel. In the next half hour, we'll do a little bit of time traveling from the very beginning of constructionism, constructionist learning, to what it is today and what's to look forward to. I wanted to go back, let's say, about 50 years ago, when artificial intelligence, programming languages, personal computing were emerging, and some of the founding fathers of artificial intelligence and pioneers in education, such as Marvin Minsky, Seymour Papert, and Cynthia, who's here with us today, were looking at education and thinking that this was the perfect time, with the emergence of artificial intelligence, to use it to rethink education and rethink how children learn, and how to make sure that we were really giving the full potential to learners. So since then, of course, we've traveled a long path. Today, I'm happy to say I'm the co-founder of Fab Lab Armenia, and because very obviously for us, and you will understand why, constructionism paired with the revolution of digital fabrication, but most of all Fab academies and the distributing learning system, all this wealth developed at MIT suddenly had a channel to grow exponentially and empower so many learners. And I was very lucky for 3 decades to be alongside Papert and the amazing educators around him that actually put it in practice, and I saw it work and have a huge impact. So I wanted to share this quote from Seymour Papert that I like a lot, and that makes it so obvious why paired with digital fabrication it becomes really even more impactful. When he said, computer scientists were not supposed to bring computers into classrooms and communities. They were supposed to bring computer science to children and people to empower them to model the world around them. And that's exactly what all of you are doing, and understanding the methodology, the philosophy of constructionism, we thought would be important. So I would like to welcome Dr. Cynthia Salomon, and who is part of this incredible wealth of knowledge and experience, and to share with us how it all started. Thank you, Cynthia.
It's great.
So when you want to move forward, you push the green button. When you want
For the,
yes.
look at that. I'm very glad to be here. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but there are some slides I'll try to follow. In 1966, Seymour had been consulting at Bolt, Beranek & Newman, which was a consulting firm in Cambridge that had a artificial intelligence group, and at that time, an ex-student of Marvin's and Seymour's, Danny Barbrow, led it. And Danny worked with Wally Feuerzag, who was in charge of the Education Technology Group. Seymour consulted with them and noticed there was a project going on where children were using a language like BASIC to learn algebra. And Seymour sort of raised his hand up and said, learning algebra with an algebraic language seemed ridiculous. What we need is a language for children. Now, we were all, our backgrounds was with Lisp. For those of you who don't know Lisp, that was the AI language at MIT, designed by John McCarthy, and it was a Lisp processing language. Anyway, I'm talking too much. So Seymour came to MIT in 1964. And prior to that, he'd spent about 5 years with Piaget doing research. Now, Seymour was a mathematician, and Piaget loved having mathematicians on the staff. So that's how he came. Marvin and Seymour met at a conference in 1960, and they gave identical papers, and they sort of got excited by each other. And so a move was made to entice Seymour to MIT, and he arrived in 1964. And so he and Marvin started leading the AI group and doing various research. And as I said, Seymour started consulting at BBN on children and computing, and that's where Logo was born. I was part of the group with Danny Barbrow, and in 1968-69, Seymour and I team taught for the year a group of 7th graders. And we had a logo running on a PDP-1 that BBN had cast aside. And And, oh yeah, the NSF wouldn't fund us if we worked with 5th graders, so we had to work with 7th graders. But, and the kind of thing, oh, I want to show you a picture to remind you of what time-shared computers looked like. The top one is, in 1967 was considered brand new. It was an SDS 940. And the first version of Logo, Danny implemented in Lisp on that machine. The lower one is the PDP-1. And, you know, it took a big room to occupy it. And also, I wanted you to see that the text was always in caps. There was no lowercase in those days. So anyway, one of the things that Seymour and I were looking for was procedural thinking with respect to circus arts. Seymour was a great cook. We never taught children to cook, but we thought a lot about it because it's very procedural. And we wanted to take the ideas of Logo and put them out in the world. So there I am pushing him on a bongo board, and we had the bongo board in the classroom, as well as we did a lot of teaching children to juggle. And the other thing that we started doing, I was never good at it, but Seymour was unicycling. Anyway, we were looking for things outside. But after the year-long teaching of these 7th graders, Seymour exclaimed we needed something more. We needed something that the children could talk to other than a computer. And that's how Turtles came to be. And by 1970, Seymour and I team taught 5th graders, and we had these 2 turtles plus a display turtle.
Let a child learn mathematics by speaking in mathematics about things that really matter to them. So at MIT, we've given computers the power to turn motors, to make sounds, to draw pictures, and we've found ways of giving children the power to control the computer. Now they'll put their little tunes together to make a bigger one.
Is that okay? This is the end. Yes. Marvin Minsky built a music box.
Sometimes I get into bugs like this.
Yeah.
And it'll, when it was doing it in
This was the kind of graphics we had.
little turtle.
And I'm going to
The little
stop it here
triangle thing.
and say that what I've been doing more recently is I edited, if you want to read some 6 wonderful papers on children, education, school, Marvin Minsky wrote these, and they're fabulous. So I just wanted to, you can get it from MIT Press. And the thing I'm doing these days is turtle stitch. And I have to read you why I love turtle stitching. It's collaborative. You can bounce ideas off of people. Remixing is just a joy. And almost anyone can make a beautiful object right away. And it puts a new twist on turtle geometry. And you can happily experience the frustration and excitement of debugging code and ideas. Thank you. Is that okay?
just catching our breath, let me introduce you to an amazing researcher, Claudia Urea, who is heading the MIT initiative PK to 12, which means for 4-year-old until high school. And she is the former director of learning at One Laptop Per Child, and also the last student of Seymour Papert. And I can say easily she's changing the world, because it's very difficult, as you all know, and I've experienced this in Armenia, to bring this rich environment into the education system, but it's essential. And this is a challenge that Claudia is taking on, and she's really good at it. So now she's telling us how she's doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. First, it's great to be here and to share this panel with this amazing group of women. So I'm going to really quickly talk about some of the work that we're doing. As Jacqueline mentioned, I'm leading the PK-12 initiative, and we're working around the world to bring these ideas not only to educators and systems, but also it informs what we do. I'm going to share first this video. Hopefully it will play.
I don't learn by having somebody teach me. Sometimes I might fill in a little gap here and there, but if I want to learn something, I go out and I try to undertake a project. I try to see what different people have said and get involved in a debate about it. The same thing applies to children. I'd like them to be able to acquire ideas by using them to make something, to achieve a purpose, to achieve a project. And in doing this, they are not simply banking in their vaults of their heads ideas that somebody else has pre-digested for them. They reinvent the ideas as they use them.
I mean, this speaks so much for, not only Seymour and constructionism, but the way we work with people. So I think the first thing I want to mention is how we work, the elements of the approach that we bring when we work with educators around the world. So it's not just about a deployment of a solution that is being pre-built, but one of our first elements is the co-design with stakeholders. So we work with ministries of education, we work with universities, we work with local people. So I think working with local people and co-designing and bringing what we know is one of our first principles. The second is capacity building. So is never, and Seymour spoke so beautifully about this, is not about coming to tell people what the right things are, but is really about building the capacity of people to work with us to be able to take ideas forward. So we work with all of the stakeholders, and one thing that I want to make sure is mentioned is in our co-design process, the voices of those children that we want to impact are also brought into the picture. The third one is open educational resources. So I think taking ideas from where they are, things that we have built, but things that have been built local or things that others have built is important, and we continue to share the resources that we build as a principle. And the fourth one is sort of introducing these principles of constructionism is not about an idea that is going to stay, but it's about a process of building something, sharing something, testing these ideas, and sort of iterating and improving. So bringing those principles are important for bringing these ideas to the world. And Seymour talked about an example, so it's impossible to talk about the work that we do, and this is about sort of a team. Two projects that are very close to us in terms of designing. We built a high school inspired on constructionism and ideas from MIT in the country of Belize. So we spent 5 years working with the Ministry of Education, working with the Development Bank and many stakeholders. And now I'm going to go a little deep into this idea. The second is something we're working on right now. Is in Colombia, but it's a center of early childhood education. So this is children under 5 years of age. Really quickly, these institutions are public. They're part of the education system. So this idea of like building something concrete that brings those stakeholders together to think about the relevance, to think about the direction of the country, the education, the resources that exist. All of those elements have been present. These are some images. We were involved not just in the designing of the sort of teaching and learning model, the curriculum, the professional development, but we're also involved in like what the space looks like at the sort of building level, but also at the classroom, like how do the learning spaces look like, what the maker space and Fab Lab will have to bring. I don't know if people can read. One of the things that we also co-designed that is informing what we do with educators is 4 layers of professional development. So from where we begin, so establishing communities, to the pedagogy, constructionism, and the relevant pedagogies, to the specialized training. So some of the Fab Lab kind of relevant training on machines and things like that. And one thing that is really, really important is like how do you take all of these ideas and you craft a learning experience with your learners. A second example that I'm mentioning really briefly has to do with our program that we run at MIT with middle school students, and we have some educators as well in the audience. So we build something concrete, yes, we build something concrete, but we also offer it to educators. How do we scale these ideas? We really have to bring educators that in their classrooms, in the schools, in the school systems can take these ideas forward. So here's some example of our program. Here's an example of what they will be doing starting yesterday, and they're here with us today and a couple of weeks. I'm just going to mention, just to end, ideas that are important. Again, how change spreads is through exemplary programs. So it's important to build something concrete in order to, to build the capacity to create the resources to educate educators, right? So capacity building, communities of practice. How do you form networks of people like this for Fab, worldwide? How do we connect people to ideas and to people so they can continue to innovate and improve? Open resources, really critical, the ones we create, but the ones that everyone is co-creating. Again, continuous iteration and improvement, and really the idea of system transformation. So I'll end here, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Claudia. So it's very inspiring not to be afraid to work at large scale. And another example is Anne Berger-Valente, and she's building communities of learners at large scale in Brazil, but also is an educator and researcher at the Lifelong Kindergarten at MIT. And I will let Anne tell you more.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Jacqueline, Jerry, colleagues. Thank you. So nice to be here with everybody. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Brazil's contribution to this whole trajectory of building constructionism. And so the community aspect that is so present in Brazil was one of the things that really stood out for Seymour Papert when he came to visit Brazil for the first time in 1975. And he went to a samba school rehearsal. And these are encounters that happen weekly within a community. And he was really inspired by learning within an informal space, different ages of people So you had the experts, the leaders, the artists, you had just regular people in the community. You also had little children who were dancing and teaching the others. The same thing with the musicians. And he was very, very much inspired by this kind of a learning environment within a society. So this became one of the chapters in his book, Mindstorms, Images of a Learning Society. In Brazil, we have also another leader, a thought leader, philosopher, educator, in Paulo Freire. And Paulo Freire and Seymour Papert shared many ideas. Paulo Freire developed the idea of critical pedagogy. He worked with illiterate people, adults, in the northeast of the country. And through reading the environment that they were in a critical format, these people became readers of their world. And so there's a whole pedagogy about pedagogy of the oppressed that was very much in sync with what Seymour was talking about. I don't know if you noticed in the video that Claudia shared, when Seymour goes like this about banking knowledge, that banking education is a model, is a metaphor that Paulo Freire would use about not storing up the ideas in education to be used for a future date. That the idea is to be able to use them in time when they are needed, when they are relevant to you for your critical view of your world. So Paulo Freire was very influential in education in Brazil. There's within educators, within universities, college, schools of education, but also there were many collaborations between universities and government. And over the past 40 years, there have been many, many initiatives that were developed jointly to promote a constructionist way of using computers in education. So one of his students, José Valente, was a student of Seymour Papert. Here we see him with Paulo Freire, who at the time was Secretary of Education with the Luisa Erundina, who was the mayor, and they are launching a Project Genesis, which is just one of the kinds of examples where a school system was adopting the ideas of constructionism in the implementation of computers in education. And this was also done by many other secretaries of education throughout the country over the years. And also, critically, we had a lot of support from the federal government as well. So there were some key people in place in Brazil. José, there was also Leia Fagundes, and there was another person who was in the Ministry of Education, Maria Cândida. And they supported computer laboratories in schools. They supported large-scale professional development initiatives. Already? Oh gosh, oh my goodness.
It goes fast.
Okay, so moving forward, what we're working on now, building on these initiatives, these seeds that were sowed. We have the Brazilian Creative Learning Network, which is a network of over 20,000 educators across the country. These are educators, Fab Labbers. We have many Fab Labbers, we have many makers, and they are leveraging constructionism in Brazil. And what we do is we try to identify those people who are already having a like mindset. We don't try to convince anybody. We try to get the people who already have like mindsets, connect them, collaborate, and offer opportunities for collaborations, which can be campaigns, conferences, festivals, and then promote the work that they are doing. Because often work as an educator in a school is very solitary. So we want to bring together all of these people into an engaging, animated community.
Thank you.
Yay! The Brazilians are in maths here.
So now I don't need to present Sherry.
Well-
Sherry will talk to us about how all this amazing work goes from MIT out to the world and grows exponentially.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to be very quick because Norella's going to kill me if I'm not very quick. So, just briefly, Jacqueline asked me the question, a week or two ago. Well, how did you scale? We took the beautiful programs some of the programs and the ideas that you've just heard about, and disseminated them through the network. But how did we build that network? And so, just very quickly, this is kind of a timeline, a back-of-the-envelope timeline of how we scaled. We got the grant from the National Science Foundation to sort of look at the merging of bits and atoms back in 2001. And part of that grant, of course, was to build Fab Labs, or to deploy Fab Labs in communities around the world that didn't usually have access. And so we did that from 2002. Actually, we went beyond the NSF grant and continued to do to deploy labs with sugar grants. I don't know if any of you know what a sugar grant is, but that's what we used to call them. And we ended up through NSF funding probably building the first dozen Fab Labs in the world. And we started, Neil observed that we were following Moore's Law, right, in a way, which, right now is kind of dead, Moore's Law, but, the number of transistors on a microchip, was doubling every couple of years, and the cost was coming down. Similarly, I would get every Fab Lab we would deploy, I would get at least 2 to 4 more requests for Fab Labs. And so this pile of papers, piled up on my desk that just got bigger and bigger every couple of years. And so that's what we're calling Lass's Law. And in 2007, we realized very quickly that this was going to, we couldn't do this by ourselves, by, going out and one at a time putting Fab Labs in the world, and we were getting so many requests, so it was a pull, not a push. And we had to develop the resources. It's very similar to what Claudia was talking about. We had to develop the resources such that the network could grow itself. And so Neil established the inventory. We started teaching how to make almost anything. We piloted, I think it was in 2007. I seem to remember you were of the first class, Thomas, right? Yeah. And so we really had to figure out distributed education, and then put all sorts of platforms into place like Fab Labs IO, Scopes. We had to do conferences like this so that we could bring everybody together. We had to use every kind of social media or platform that was available at the time to be able to communicate and exchange knowledge. And so that's really how we did it, right? And we established the Fab Foundation. It got so big, we sort of it outgrew the lab. It was sort of overwhelming our research. So that's when we established the Fab Foundation to kind of take over these functions of growing the network. And so really it was about building these labs so that people would understand and use the technology, the digital fabrication and the technologies of innovation to create their own technologies, to sort of take control of that, of the creation of technology. And so I think all of you probably know these things, but these were what we found were the things that allowed a lab to succeed. So free and open access to the community. I'm sorry, I can't read over there, so I'm looking back here. We had a charter, so kind of guidelines for how you operate and how people participate. We wanted all the labs to share tools and processes, so that they could collaborate across, across countries, across the world. Participate. You must participate in network activities. All these things you've heard before, but the essential thing was it was the people, not the machines, that were most critical to the success of a Fab Lab. So. And this is kind of how it works for us. This looks more hierarchical than it really works, but the Center for Bits and Atoms does this extraordinary research and develops practices and figures out what are the best practices. That filters down to Fab Foundation, where we manage sort of the Fab Academy or the Academy, and that's how we disseminate that research. And then from Academy, it goes out to all the nodes in the network that are participating, and then we get feedback. It's a really wonderful virtuous loop where we get feedback that comes back up to CBA, and so that's really how we scaled, and it's very much, I think, aligned with what you were just talking about, Claudia. And so I'm going to pass it back to you.
Thanks, Sherry. I can't stress enough how important it is to have people who attend Fab Academy in your Fab Lab. I saw that in Armenia we got a Fab Lab, and it didn't take off and really bloom until we had graduates from Fab Academy. It's night and day, and it's remarkable, and we continue the program because I haven't seen anything else that enriches it more than these programs. So you have seen on the screens around you these 1-minute videos from Cynthia, from Anne, Yasmin Kafai, Justin Cassel, Gary, and more. And it's the beginning of what we want to build as a living history of constructionist learning. And we invite you all to share your 1 minute or less time video to this address, constructionism@farmfoundation.org, and keep this question in mind and choose one story or experience. What is the one lesson you've learned from practicing constructionist learning that continues to shape your work? And why do you think it matters for the future? So what you think is essential, please share, because this is an amazingly wonderful community, and we learn together and practice locally, which is also a great strength. Yes, Neil? Yes? Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Just jump up.
Your story, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell your story.
Just 1 minute. Fab Lab started spreading. Seymour was legendary. I didn't see any relationships. There's a whole history of Seymour, Lego, Logo, Mindstorms, and then there was this weird thing, Fab Labs, completely unrelated, just an accident. And there was this amazing moment in my life where Seymour came in when Fab Labs were spreading, and I'll never forget the gesture. He said it was a thorn in his side that the kids could use the turtle, but they couldn't make the turtle. And the whole goal was not to use the turtle, but it was to make the turtle. And he saw Fab Labs not as an aberration, but exactly the fulfillment of the roadmap. From the PDP to the turtle to the Fab Lab was a straight line. So that's my 1 minute.
Wonderful. So,
yeah, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, go ahead and say thanks.
I wanted to thank you all, and also what started as do-it-yourself, I think it's pretty obvious, has become a do-it-together, which I personally find extremely powerful. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
As Neil likes to say, it's time for a bio break. So please be back in how long? 15 minutes?
No.
5 minutes. You get a 5-minute bio break. Please, yeah.
Yeah, so you can stick with us here and view the short video, or you can grab a quick coffee or bio break. But we need you back. We have a jam-packed day, so please grab your coffee quick, and then we'll get you right back in. Thank you.
So much of what Seymour did and I did was a collaboration, especially in the beginning. In 1968-69, we taught seventh graders for a year-long course. In place of their mathematics course, we taught them a computer course. And we had Logo on a time-shared system, and we didn't have turtles. So there was no graphics in what we did. But as a result of that experience, Seymour is the one that said that we needed something more concrete they could play with, and that's how Turtles came about. In 1970-71, Seymour and I team taught fifth graders, and that's when we had turtles. We had floor turtles and a display turtle. We took over the teaching of the seventh graders because there was a teacher that we were at both Brannick and Newman, and there was a teacher that we got to be the teacher. The thing is, she didn't understand about project-based learning, and so we took over the teaching and we did project after project with the students. And also we paid very close attention to what they contributed and what they had to say. And so that was fun. And it's still in teaching. That's what at least I do, and certainly Seymour did too. It was very important for us to let the child lead us into some sort of project. And so that's, Seymour was vital and still is vital to what I do. And what I do today is Turtle Stitch. So take care. Thanks.
Objects to think with is an idea that Seymour Papert coined to talk about the process of exploring the knowledge that is embedded in physical objects. For Papert, he referred to the gears of his childhood. For people in the Fab Labs, as you create things in the Fab Lab, you're creating objects to think with. There's the knowledge of the materials, knowledge of the particular phenomena that you're exploring, and there is also the knowledge about learning. And the learning that goes on in the Fab Lab is often very different than the learning that occurs in schools. For me, as an educator, I use the idea of objects to think with to create things that don't have to be perfect, but can be explored and improved as they are shared with others. It is a learning process that is based on personally meaningful examples instead of standardized curricula. It requires a community of trust and respect. As schools and society at large are increasingly consumed with rankings, getting ahead, and influencing others, spending time with an object to think with is more relevant today than ever.
Seymour Papert's singular genius was threefold. He introduced a new theory of learning, constructionism. He created the tools to facilitate constructionism and proposed deep project-based learning scenarios. And from the very beginning, Papert was consistent in predicting exactly how schools will reject even the most obvious and undeniable interventions. Seymour's assessment rubric was quite simple. What can a kid do? And when planning what to teach, Papert would ask, and what can they do with that? If an activity doesn't lead to the asking of a deeper question or formation of a larger theory, why bother? There is no more useful lens for viewing educational policy or resolving pedagogical differences than through Papert's framing of instructionism versus constructionism. Red versus blue, traditional versus progressive, conservative versus liberal, Democratic versus Republican. Just don't do the job, as well as assuming a stance between constructionism and instructionism. Where do you stand? In these perilous times, it is critical that we break out of our silos, form alliances, make connections, and seek allies so that we may defend the rights and potential of children to learn in their world.
In 1981, Seymour Papert's philosophy of learning by doing changed my life. It reshaped how I think, how I teach, and how I collaborate in mutual respect. I may have retired from professional work, but I just can't stop fighting against discrimination. Race, gender, language, or social status should never lock someone out of the future. Education is the bedrock of human development, and the internet is our most powerful tool to support it. True progress requires equitable internet access and governance. And that is why I champion universal acceptance for everyone to access digital services, to create economic opportunities, and to strengthen African digital sovereignty. We must co-create, share benefits, and leave no one behind. Thank you.
For me, the most enduring lesson from Seymour Papert's constructionist learning philosophy is that learning happens best when people make things. Seymour was not fixated on computers. He saw technology as a tool that could empower learners to explore powerful ideas. Learning by making things has a privileged place for empowerment. You also allows you to share your ideas in form of artifacts with others. You show a program, a design or a drawing you have made with others and talk about what it means to you, what it represents in the world. It makes your learning accessible, shareable, and tangible. This remains especially relevant today and for the future, where most people experience the new AI technologies like magic. Learning how to make them can unpack the magic, empower you as users and designers, and provide a voice in the digital public.
When I met Seymour Papert in 1995, one main stream of research of mine was building machines that would listen to children rather than talk at them. Machines that didn't just tell them stories, but asked them to tell stories. And when I talked to Seymour about it, he drew a parallel between that and constructionism, that when children build, whether it's language or stories or objects, it's there that they learn. And this was so influential for me. And it's led to many projects over the years. In 1997, 1998, I was lucky enough to direct the Junior Summit, where more than 3,000 children came together from 139 countries, and they came up with ways that they thought children could improve the world. Still today, they are improving the world. They are today parents and teachers. One has opened a school for street children and continues to work on giving children voice. But more recently, my students and I have been looking at what optimizes learning when children collaborate. And this very week, we turned in a paper that's so reminiscent of Seymour's ideas, where we found that when children disagree, when they build on each other's ideas, when they challenge one another, that's where we find that their brains literally synchronize. They are literally on the same wavelength. And this is where they learn the most. It's where cognition.
And there you are. Okay. Yeah, but I'll be 10 minutes.
Yeah. Where can I find it?
Hello, 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 hello. Everyone, if you could get seated again. I would like for all the regenerative futures young folks to line up over here, sit down over here, if you would, for me. Oh. All right, everyone, please be seated. We're going to get started. I hate to interrupt, but everybody, please be seated. Our next, it's my, please, if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. 3 times. Thank you. All right, it is my honor, a great honor and pleasure to introduce Dimitris Bertsimos. He is the Vice Provost for Open Learning here at MIT. He is the Associate Dean of Online Education and Artificial Intelligence. He is the Boeing Professor of Operations Research, and he is the Faculty Director of the Master of Business Analytics program here at MIT. He is truly trying to democratize access to advanced technical education. Join me in welcoming Dimitris.
I will use. Good morning. Thank you for the invitation to be here. So I have been talking to Neil for the last several months. I have significant admiration for what Fab Labs has created. And what I would like to talk to you about is about open learning, an organization that I lead, and how and the opportunities that exist of combining it with Fab Labs to create an even better environment for learners around the world, for MIT, for Fab Labs, and for open learning. So I titled the talk, MIT's Path to Educating 1 Billion Learners with Hands-on Capabilities. All right? So I don't know how many of you know what open learning is or have heard about it. And I can say this because I have not built it, but it's an impressive place. It's, as you know, the mission of MIT is to advance knowledge and educate students in science, technology, and other areas of scholarship that will best serve the nation and the world in the 21st century. Very briefly, open learning has been 25 years old. It started with OpenCourseWare, OCW, which is sort of the home run of open learning. It's the first time that an institution of the magnitude of MIT has offered its courses to the world free of charge. And over the years, not only OpenCourseWare, but many other things have led to several hundreds of millions of learners that have learned from it. As a personal indication, I have 3 of my current PhD students would not have heard or been inspired to be at MIT for doctoral education if it wasn't for OCW. So I paid attention on the impact it had. In 2011, we had this massive online courses movement. 2012 was the original establishment of MIT Open Learning. Then there were other offerings, MicroMasters, professional education, workforce learning, several others. I will not bother you with too many details. But we have launched in 2025 a platform that is relevant for the discussion today. We call it MIT Learn. It's now about 1 year old. And in that platform, we unified the vast majority, not yet the totality. We are in the process of getting the totality of offerings that open learning has, OpenCourseWare, the MOOCs, MicroMasters, and many others, in one platform. And in addition, we launched a lot of AI technology. I'll speak more about it, tutors, translations, summarizations, customizations, and so forth. We launched also what we call universal learning, trying to educate people earlier in a variety of fields, more to come, where I also see an opportunity with Fab Labs as well. So our objective is to already open learning is effective in teaching students around the world in the hundreds of millions. My hope would be to reach 1 billion, and in particular, to reach it with hands-on capabilities. Because at the moment, open learning, all the online education, doesn't have hands-on. I mean, it has hands-on in the sense you have a software program, but people don't build, and it's a more of an isolated experience. Individuals follow in their bedroom or whatever a taped environment, or study on their own. It's not in the spirit of Fab Labs. So as I mentioned, MIT Open Learning has launched MIT Learn. So how we'll get there? On the 1 billion learners, we have a reasonable plan. On the hands-on experience, I hope to work with you. And it's not that I come here telling you we have to do this. I don't know. And Neil and I have been discussing. Generally speaking, I came today with an open mind. I'm very influenceable as a result, which is not my typical style. But on the other hand, this is a tough task. And the idea would be to collaborate with Fab Labs to add hands-on experience at scale. Okay. We will deserve that, assuming we succeed. So what is MIT Learn, which is a key aspect of our strategy? We have moved a very significant amount of classes, courses, special videos, thousands of them, that involved the efforts of many of my colleagues at MIT and students and so forth. We have, in addition to that, we have created a tutor called Ask Tim, MIT in reverse, that I would say, and now it is in about 30, 40 MIT courses, residential as well. And the hope would be to engage not only open learning material, but MIT professional education, the Sloan School professional education, PK-12, that Claudia represents, and many others, we hope. We also launched universal learning that I also believe has a possibility to combine with Fab Labs ideas. Namely, that we try to, so currently the MOOCs, for example, are a little bit too advanced. Universal means that we try to reach a lot of learners and earlier with material that prepares them for more advanced MIT courses. We have already launched artificial intelligence. In September, we are launching biology and climate and energy. We have semiconductor manufacturing in the, I would say, December, January framework, and we are currently working on healthcare. There are many others. In fact, I would like to engage, I've seen actually some, I followed some of the excellent educational material that you have created in cybersecurity, in microelectronics and data science, and I know you are preparing other things. That could be, we can offer some of these as well. I won't cover too much about what universal learning is, given the time, but it really gives, we offer it to institutions, we offer it to individuals. It has a foundational piece from Python to large language models, to machine learning, to generative AI, to ethics, future of work, and so forth, and then verticals. AI in precision medicine, AI in transplantation, holistic AI, AI and various AI and law, multiple verticals. Quite a bit of it is already out. So we also have, as I mentioned, AI technology is particularly important in Learn. We have a tutor that does not hallucinate because it knows the answers, but it doesn't reveal the answers. It helps in a Socratic way. I'm Greek, so Socratic is what we typically utilize for that. To help students, you can have also conceptual discussions. So this is, in a way, the closer we have to interaction at the moment, namely a tutor where you can query everything you want about the class. Is based on large language models. You can have this guidance system to guide you through Learn and many others. We also have created assessments. It now translates to 12 languages. We can customize. We can also include, for instance, we have a class, Universal AI, in Malaysia. And the system, using Gen AI, can generate content that has examples from Malaysia, which obviously an MIT professor doesn't have the time to develop. But this gives you, I would say, very strong, good material in that respect. So the key aspect of the class, as I mentioned, I already mentioned, open learning has scale. And it aspires to have even more so, but it's not hands-on. Fab Labs is hands-on, but it has limited scale. I don't want to minimize what you have done. I have a lot of respect for it, but it's not there are some zeros missing. So the hope would be to use MIT Learn platform and collaborate with much closer with you guys to achieve both scale and hands-on. As far as plan is concerned, I'll tell you some preliminary thoughts and a challenge. Fab Labs offered cybersecurity in 2026, in June. While I did not participate, I'm not an expert on the topic, but I did follow the class. It is a superb class. And those who know me know that I don't say this to please people. I really believe it's a high quality class. it also offered, prior to that, data science and microelectronics. I have seen some data science. I did not follow, did not look at microelectronics. I extrapolated it would be of a similar quality like the others. So one idea would be to offer these materials within the MIT Learn platform would allow scale, and it also would allow institutional, because Learn has several institutions that is connected with, tens to hundreds, and in addition, offer some of the offerings that are currently in MIT Learn, for example, Universal AI as an example, to Fab Lab participants. So that's way we create a more uniform environment. What is the big challenge? What you have created, and it's admirable, is that you have a community that people learn from each other, collaborate. You have a sort of a cascading environment where people interact and so forth as humans, which is a great aspect of education, even though I'm a decent education guy. I've been 40 years at MIT. I love education and teaching and so forth. But it does not scale at these levels. So the key question, in my opinion, that's a challenge, to modify delivery so that you can achieve hands-on asynchronously, but also maintain the human connection as well. How exactly do that? It's not a trivial task. But, and it would require, I would say, ideas from people. I heard in the very morning, I heard some of you speaking about some ideas. Please educate me, and I would be glad to listen and work with you. I don't have an agenda, in other words. Impact is my agenda. That's the only one. So this is, in a way, an invitation for collaboration. And I look forward to working with Neil and the teams to achieve this objective. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitris. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to piloting and working together. This next bit is going to be a little bit complicated. I'd like to invite my colleagues, Emily Glass and Claudia, to come up here. Also, I'd like to invite Benno, wherever Benno is, and then all of the young people who are in the Regenerative Futures Challenge, please come up. Come on stage right here and line up behind these chairs if you don't mind. So this is really special. We Crazy Three decided to offer a challenge this year to young people around the world. I'm going to let Emily tell you more about it, but it was the first time that we were, Fab Foundation and PK12 initiative were able to work together at MIT, and so very excited to introduce you to these young people and to Emily Glass, who is a friend and colleague and is an architect by training and by education, but is now architecting learning.
Thank you, Sherry. Hi, everyone. I don't know which mic. I have 3 mics right now, so I don't know which one is on. Hello?
No, your
Hello?
lab.
Hello?
Your lab.
This one? My lab. Okay. I'm going to give a little introduction to this challenge, which has been unbelievable. And can we just have a quick round of applause for these young folks? These teams, a number of them traveled from as close as Somerville High School to all the way around the world to be here today. And we are just so, so, so grateful. This has been an unbelievable past couple of months working with these groups. So a little bit about this challenge. So sustainability challenges us to reduce our impact on the planet. It asks us to imagine doing more with less, how to reduce harm, and to mitigate impact. It's an important strategy, but we've learned that it's limiting. That's our theme music. So regeneration reframes the question. It asks us, how do we design systems that heal and renew? To coexist with nature and to thrive, we have to design solutions that leave ecosystems and communities stronger over time. So Buckminster Fuller said this best. He said, nature is totally efficient, self-regenerating system. If we discover the laws that govern the system and live synergistically within them, sustainability will follow. So the Regenerative Futures Innovation Challenge is a collaboration between the MIT PK-12 initiative and Fab Foundation, and it was established to explore these ideas through innovation with young people. So 6 months ago, we opened a call for proposals that invited young people from around the world to imagine and prototype solutions for their own communities inspired by these principles of regeneration. The teams developed ideas, they tested prototypes, they explored how regeneration can be applied to their own communities and real-world contexts. So the challenge, the theme for the challenge was inspired in part by, where's Benno? Benno Juarez, and the Fab Lab Lima in Peru, whose work is a truly powerful example of regeneration in action. If you haven't seen their work, really go check it out. The Floating Fab Lab, which brings fabrication capabilities across the Amazon, aims to reverse depredation and loss of planetary biodiversity through community-based solutions, and demonstrates how the digital world, the physical world, and time-tested indigenous knowledge can be leveraged together to address environmental and social challenges. So Benno's work has really shaped the spirit of this challenge. The 4 finalists that we're going to announce today were selected from a pool of 8 semi-finalists. Go see their work in the first floor of the Media Lab. And we're going to show, well, we're going to have everyone introduce themselves quickly and then show a short video of all of the projects.
So this first one's by video, so go to the next slide and click one more time.
From Mumbai, India. I'm Ved.
I'm Tarini.
I'm Anya.
I'm Kavya.
We built a solar-powered modular floating pod system for polluted water bodies.
It addresses toxic algal blooms, hypoxia, heavy metals, and other problems in India's freshwater ecosystems.
Using lava rock, leca bacteria, and silicone fibers, it removes pollutants, traps microplastics, and restores aquatic health. This isn't sustainability, it's regeneration.
Is it 3 minute total?
Yeah, I think so.
The anti-flood sewer system is a filter that is made from plastic residue and can be monitored electronically and vouchers to solve flooding problems.
Thank you from Recife, Brasil.
Okay. Reach.
One person.
Climate One.
Hi everyone, my name is Bhavika and I'm going to be introducing our project Climate One. Our team consists of myself, Nalia, Sage, Anya, and Chahat, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, and our mentor, Jason. But to provide a brief description, we are cultivating a movement through our online global platform, Climate One, which will be used as a tool to connect young climate advocates to a robust network of Fab Labs, project grants, and most importantly, other young advocates. Thank you so much, and once again, we are Climate One.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We are from San Jose Las Vegas School, located in Medellin, Colombia, a city surrounded by nature and that hosts more than 4,200 water streams that are degrading because of the growing disconnection between nature and society. We use nature itself as a regenerative system. Technology has a monitoring system, and art has an universal language that allows us to rebuild the relationship between the community and nature. Water is a global concern, and our proposal is a global solution.
Hi, I am Miguel Baena, and I am responsible for the overall coordination of the project, activity planning, tracking the team's progress, and managing the website. In addition, I provide the voiceover for the round 2 video pitch.
Hi, I'm Nicolas. I'm responsible for the project documentation, organizing evidence, and communicating the project with institutions and communities.
Good day, I am Matilde Esteban. My role is to support research on the problem, information analysis, and the environmental and social approach.
I'm Samuel Alejandro Molina Guerra, and I work on the technical development of the project.
Good day everyone, I'm Chimamanda by name, the student leader, the project Waste to Solar Lantern by Sparkwise Initiative.
Good day everyone, I'm Bodi Marcos by name, and I'm the secretary of this project Waste to Solar Lantern of the Sparkwise Initiative.
Good day everyone, my name is Ebenezer Anyadiego. I'm the founder of Sparkwise Initiative and the mentor of the student team working on the project Waste to Solar Lantern. Thank you for supporting Sparkwise Young Innovators Club. Let's shine. Great Innovators Club. Great!
My name is Tomas. I'm the team lead for Venturi Energy. Our team has developed Rooftide, a tidal energy system that generates clean electricity from the East River while also rebuilding the oyster habitats in the same structure.
I'm Ira Lin, and I worked on video editing and script writing.
I'm Vincent, and I'm in charge of designing the tidal turbine in Fusion 360.
I'm Peter Thompson. My work is in engineering, computer engineering, applied maths, and 3D printing outreach.
My name is Charles Moynier, and I did product research and 3D printing research.
My name is Veer Balani, and I worked on the communication aspect of this project.
Too much logistics. Young Innovators? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, we mixed it up. Go ahead.
Okay. So, our project is a remix of a Brazilian architectural classic, the Cobogó, and we are very inspired by nature, so we use biomimicry to take inspiration of the leaves' veins to create a water circulating system. And the most important part is that everything is made of recyclable plastic. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone who came in person. This is an unbelievable effort. I'm going to have you go back to your seats now, and we're going to play a short video about the challenge. Are we ready for the winners? Yeah. Yes, that's unbelievable. So Benno and his team designed these unbelievable trophies for our Regenerative Futures winners that we are so proud to present today. I'm going to announce the exceptional regenerative solutions, and then I'll turn it over to Claudia for the bigger two. So the exceptional regenerative solution one will receive $1,250 to continue their prototyping, and that will go to Sparkwise Young Innovators from Nigeria. They're not here. They're not here. He's not here. The second exceptional regenerative solution, also receiving $1,250, will go to Venturi Energy Retied.
First, receive how much?
Also met here. Claudia.
Oh my God. I have the job of like second and first prize. So the second prize, exemplary regenerative solution goes to, one more? Future Agents of Brazil. Are they here? And they will receive what? Just the price will be $2,500 to continue your prototype. So they're here. Woo. Yeah! Did you take a picture? And then last but not least, the first prize, outstanding regenerative solution goes to Young Innovators for Water.
Come on up.
We're so lucky to have two of the winning teams with us. We were hoping to have all of them. The prize for the team will be $5,000. So congratulations, congratulations. Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Thank you
so much, everyone.
So thank you, PK12 Initiative, thank you, Fab Foundation, and thank you to all these amazing young people who really submitted the most beautiful projects. And I hope you will watch them. They're on exhibit, and their videos are on exhibit at the at E14 in the lobby. So please do stop by and dig a little deeper into the incredible work that they did. Thank you. And now I'd like to invite, I don't see them, but I'd like to invite Clive and Kristen from Lego. Are you here?
Hey. Yes. Oh, okay. All right. But first things first, I'm Kristen Size. I'm the Director of Engineering at the Lego Group here in Boston. Most of you should have a little Lego bag. If you don't and you want to raise your hand, I think we hopefully have some folks floating around to hand out bags. Don't open them yet. You have to listen to me talk for just a couple minutes.
Yeah. And just a reminder, Lego has been a partner here at MIT with lifelong learning, et cetera, for since the Media Lab started. And so they are incredible partners in this work, and they have been developing alongside constructionism for all these years. So we're super psyched to have you here. And this replaces Fabersize today, by the way, you guys.
Thank you. All right, so I am going to talk for just a couple of minutes about the Lego Group's connections to this community and to the Boston area. And then I promise you will get to build with Lego bricks. So for those who don't live here, or even for those who do, you may not know, but the Lego Group has actually been building in Boston for a really long time. Sherry mentioned we go back all the way to 1984, when one of our former CEOs actually saw Seymour Papert doing an example of his logo system on TV and was like, this is great. He basically saw a really big synergy between what he was trying to do with learning through experimentation and constructionism and what we try to do through learning with play. And so he actually came over, they started a partnership, and that's been going ever since. So the result of that has been things like the launch of Mindstorms, which many of you are probably aware of. In the late 90s, we actually funded the LEGO Learning Lab at the MIT Media Lab when we endowed a professorship that Seymour Papert was the original recipient of. Mitch Resnick is now that professor. He won the LEGO Prize in 2021, so obviously very, very tight ties there. We are also tied really tightly to Tufts, also here in the Boston area. So they have a Center for Engineering Education and Outreach through Chris Rogers and his group, and so the LEGO education team has been very involved with them since, it's actually been 20 years at this point as well, building education for Mindstorms for other LEGO education products and putting out their curriculum and public access materials for things like STEM experimentation through LEGO bricks. So we do get to build a duck. For those who don't know, the ducks are really important to the LEGO group. It's kind of one of our icons. And learning through play is something that we really believe in. So we involve play in our leadership training. We involve play in our team activities and our personal experience. So I'm going to invite you all to open your bags. Crinkle, crinkle. And I am going to ask you to take the next 60 seconds to build a duck. I do not want you to look at your neighbor. I don't want you to look and see what the person next to you is doing. I want you to build your duck with those 6 bricks. Hold on to your ducks. You're gonna look around in a minute, but keep it to yourself for now. It's not a contest to see who finishes first. Another 30 seconds. All right. Hopefully everybody now has a duck or a duck approximation made out of 6 bricks. Now I do want you to look at your neighbor. I want you to look to your left, look to your right, look in front of you. Compare your duck with the ducks around you. What do you see? I think you're going to see a lot of different ducks. All right, I do have 2 more minutes of talking. So you're going to see a lot of different ducks. All of them look like ducks, though. That's what's really cool. And because we gave you all 6 bricks and a concept, a challenge, but no instructions, everybody was able to approach it in their own way, right? And that creativity and everything is one of the really fun pieces about play. I want you to take a second and just think about what was your brain doing while you were building that duck. First you had to figure out what does a duck look like. And then you had to say, well, the ducks that I see aren't yellow. What does a yellow duck look like? What does a yellow duck made out of 6 bricks look like? How do I put these bricks together to make something that looks like a duck? And for many of you, you probably did, your first try and said, no, that doesn't really look like what I had in my head. So you did it again, right? Some rethinking, some strategic thinking. You had to be aware of the time, right? I only gave you 60 seconds to make your duck. You were practicing your fine motor skills, your spatial reasoning. All of those things were happening in 1 minute with 6 bricks. And this is a really big part of why we think learning through physical play is really important. And it's why the LEGO group exists. It's one of our, basically our main purpose in life is to continue to build physical play. And as we think about the future and we think about the children and physical play, the LEGO Foundation has kind of identified sort of 5 skills that they feel like are really important for holistic development. And by this we mean that these skills are going to help these kids as they go into adulthood. Honestly, these are skills a lot of adults continue to learn as they play, right? But they are things that, it doesn't have to be Lego bricks, it can be hide and seek, it can be board games, any kind of play can bring these skills out. And so we have creative skills, which is coming up with that idea, figuring out how to express and make something that represents your idea. Social skills. You have to collaborate most often when you want to build something, right? You have to communicate, you have to hear different ideas, have empathy for different perceptions, and put those all together. Physical skills, your body in the world, spatial relations, sensory motor, fine motor, all of that good stuff comes with play, especially with physical play. Cognitive, right? Puzzle solving, strategy, thinking through alternatives when the first one doesn't work. And then emotional. So, you know, how are you feeling while you play? How are your friends feeling while they play? How do we stay motivated and build resilience? How do we work through challenges and things like that? So this is part of what is really core to the LEGO group. I think it's probably core to a lot of the educators here in this space too, that these are all things we want our kids to learn. So enjoy your ducks, and thank you for playing.
Thank you, Kristen. That was really fun. LEGO is just amazing, and it's, you know, one of the many innovations that have come out of this, the practice of playful learning, of learning by doing, learning by making. So I'd like to call Emily Glass back up here. Our next panel is about innovations. It's about sort of new trends in education, and we have an incredible group of people who are going to talk about innovation, what they're doing in terms of innovation in education. And Emily? Oh, you have a mic.
I have a mic. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm back. This panel is going to be about education futures, Fab Futures. So building on the legacy of constructionism and all the work that we heard this morning. Let's have another applause for that incredible panel this morning. We're going to take that legacy and think about what it means today and what it means for the future of education going forward. So I have this incredible panel here with me, and I'm going to have everyone just introduce themselves quickly. Again, I'm Emily Glass. I work for the PK12 initiative here at MIT. I'm an architect. I spent many years at Newview Studio, which is just down the block. And now I work on innovation in education. So I'll turn it over to Aman.
I think Marcelo's slides.
Oh, Marcelo's slides.
I'll go first, sure.
Okay.
So yeah, my name is Marcelo Worsley. I'm the Carr Family Associate Professor of Computer Science and Learning Sciences at Northwestern. I think they maybe paid me to put empowering in the title, but they actually didn't. In thinking about some of the previous presentations, talks, I think empowerment and thinking about ways that we can empower our youth, empower our adults, our friends, family, et cetera, really comes across. So I'm just going to briefly share some of the work that I do and how I think it might be able to connect with what we're thinking about in terms of the future. So high level, a lot of my work really thinks about multimodal interfaces, multimodal analytics, and multimodal learning. And you see identity sitting at the center of that. A lot of my work is really about trying to set up spaces and opportunities that invite people to bring various aspects of their identity to that space. When we kind of think about multimodal interfaces, I'm going to show you just a quick example. So this is an example that's really geared towards trying to support accessibility and trying to think about what it means to center disability within these spaces, within these Fab Labs and maker spaces. So this is just a quick prototype that a student I made for making it so that someone who might be blind or low vision can play Minecraft. And so just providing this kind of concrete example of a multimodal interface that's really trying to open up opportunities for people to engage with this very collaborative and social game. A couple of other examples. The one on the right-hand side is really thinking about trying to use technology to actually sort of monitor things like how noisy or how crowded a given makerspace or Fab Lab is, so that for someone who might be overwhelmed by that, they're actually able to get a little bit of understanding of what's happening within that space, and for us, even as designers of that space, to kind of be cognizant of that. Second thing I really talk about is around multimodal analytics, and really this has to do with how can we do a better job of supporting the learning that's happening within a makerspace or within Fab Lab, perhaps using some non-traditional means, as opposed to asking students to complete a standardized test. We can really do things like try to study the ways that they're interacting with their peers. So my lab, we've developed this platform to do just that. There's a platform called Blink, which I'm happy to share and talk with you guys a little bit more about later on. And then lastly, really thinking about multimodal learning. And this really connects this idea of how do we set up spaces that start to push against, perhaps to say, some of the traditions of how we think about learning spaces. So a lot of the work I've been doing as of late has been connecting sports and digital fabrication, sports and Fab Labs and maker spaces. So here you've got students will go outside and actually go to a physical basketball court, but then the students will actually come back and try to create different types of wearable technologies that are related to sports. And here's just a couple more examples of those things. People using microcontrollers as well as 3D printed and laser cut pieces. So thank you.
Aman? Slide situation.
You have slides, Alec?
I do not have
You
slides.
can go. My
Okay,
slides will probably appear.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alec Resnick, and I run a small lab school here in Somerville called Powder House. My background's in math and physics. I was an undergraduate here, I guess, almost 20 years ago, and that's when I found Seymour's work, which is what put me on the track into education. And so at Powder House, a lot of what we're trying to figure out is how to translate a lot of those principles into like an actual school, an immersive environment. So it's a tuition-free lab school, and although it's privately funded, we're trying to kind of keep the same constraints that public school faces, both in terms of rules and regulations, but also budget, and also serving kind of the full breadth of youth that public schools also work with. So we launched that about 4 years ago, and a lot of our work, the reason that intersects with a lot of the themes here is because we're very interested in people making things, because we think that creating things is one of the best ways that you learn. And in particular, a lot of the things that are unusual about Powder House stem from the fact that we think it's very important to start with things that actually matter to people in one way or another. And so that ends up meaning we don't have things like traditional schedules or classes, and we take it pretty far in the sense that often when we're talking to youth and their families, we use the analogy of a producer and a director. So we say to youth and their families that they're kind of the directors of the film, and that our job is to be the producer and to make things happen, which leads to all sorts of interesting challenges, pedagogical and otherwise. For example, this summer we were having a barbecue for new families, and currently we're in this little, basically like a garage, like a 2-story carriage house outside of Davis Square, although we're moving to a new campus soon. And one of the new moms basically asked a student, like, what's the deal with this weird school in a garage? And this student said, it's really great, you can work on projects, Alec and Shanlin are really helpful, you can do anything you want. And she's like, well, you can't do whatever you want, they make you do what you say you want to do. And I feel like that's it's very astute. I don't think I had articulated that was the heart of most of our design kind of questions. And making physical things and being able to prototype things is like a complement to that. But we found that a lot of our work ends up being at this intersection of being like a coach or a mentor, helping people get out of their own way, while also trying to figure out how to translate all the various kind of skills and themes and desires that people have into actual projects that they can make physically or otherwise.
Amazing. Come on. Is it working? Let's go.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aman Milner, and I am a professor of computing and innovation at the Olin College of Engineering in Needham, Massachusetts, not too far from here. I'm going to talk to you about, briefly, some of the project pillars that happen in my lab that resonate with the Fab Lab ethos, seeing as though I did my PhD here in the Lifelong Kindergarten group and in the Center for Bits and Atoms involved in the early Fab Labs. So extending access to STEM empowerment, EASE Lab, there's 3 pillars. Start with something that you all just did in this audience, right? Embody the embraced. A lot of you embraced Legos and things like that that you remember from your childhood. There are other connections such as puzzles or marble runs that young people are very familiar with, and they've been embraced by those communities. So I usually start my projects there, and I'll show you a picture of one of the projects that I did that introduced me to working with electronic circuits in the Fab Labs. I started with puzzles because I like putting puzzles together, so I figured, why can't you make the kind of circuits that you need by connecting puzzle pieces together because different components can come in handy for different kinds of projects. So that doing that in Fab Labs gave me exposure to working with laser cutters to cut out the pieces, also the vinyl cutter to cut the adhesive copper to form the circuit, and well as the electronic bench. So it expanded my exposure, and I was able to enhance the ecosystem. What is it going to be? What does it need to be so that other people can use this in a Fab Lab too? So you see version 1 at the top and version 2 at the bottom of that, where 1 is more robust and is covered so that they can be dropped and things that happen in maker spaces. So those are some of the pillars that I used in my Fab learning that continue with my students in the Ease Lab today at Olin. You're going to see one of the things that they embraced in the other picture on the screen is a marble run. So young people dropping a marble into something and letting it go down and having silly things happen to it. This is the project called the Circuit Stack Marble Track. So they embraced the marble trap concept, but you're going to learn in this example that these two students, Allison and Atmika, added components to the tracks so that they can perform things to the marble to slow it down or to stop it in its tracks, similar to how circuit components will stop the flow of electrical current. So there's felt in one of them, and there's a rigid 3D printed device in another that will slow down the marble, just like there are different resistor values. So they put the symbols of these, and these are some things that you can vinyl cut and put on the front of the tracks. So you're expanding the exposure in the Fab Lab by saying, hey, let's talk about what the symbol is, what it means in electronics, put it on these tracks, and to enhance the ecosystem, another set of students later on found ways to, let's see if we can embody other parts of circuit controllers, other components of circuits, such as making an inductor and building upon a capacitor to make it better so that the marble can collect a lot of energy and disperse it like you can do with electrical current and some of these components. So that allows people to have conversations and play with concepts in circuitry, just like how I learned them in Fab Labs, as well as making the next couple of tracks maybe light up when the marble goes through it so they can actually build using some of the other tools in the Fab Lab toolkit. So that's just an example of the kind of work that happens in my lab that may come up as we're talking on the panel.
Fantastic. Thank you. So the pre-conversation we had for this panel, which we did last week, I think was one of the most spirited and lively pre-conversations for a panel I've ever had. There was a lot of debate, there was a lot of back and forth. So Sherry actually had to cut us off and say, save it for the panel when you're on stage. So there's a lot to debate about the future of education and what that means, especially in this age of technology when you can type anything into an LLM and get an answer at the drop of a hat. I think it really, oh, here, my lab's not working. Can you all hear me? So when you can type anything into an LLM and get an answer to any question you could possibly ever ask at the drop of a hat, it challenges us to think about what the importance of education is today. We have some incredible educators on the stage who spend a lot of time with kids in the trenches, building things, hands-on, physical, in Fab Labs. And these examples of things that you can actually physically print and make are so important. So the first question I want to open up to you guys is, what is the importance of education and learning today? Why are we still going to school? Who wants to go first?
Because I'm sitting closest,
You're
everyone's
sitting
looking at
closest
me.
to me? Okay.
Okay, so as you heard some of the history of constructionism in earlier panels, there are components of learning that are reinforced and amplified by the social aspects. And the physicality of Fab Labs and being able to bring ideas out of your head into the physical world as a part of your learning so that you can share it with others, inspire others, and the back and forth between not just learning with what you see or what you can repeat or what you can absorb, but the fact that using your hands and having those ideas come from your brain as well as others around you, so what is made becomes something shared. Those are special aspects that amplify education. So why do education in a social setting like we currently do, I think it's necessary and important for you to be able to push yourself and push others and be proud of something together and collectively build knowledge in ways that is going to be so evergreen, like that will never change as a way that people learn effectively in social settings. And so I think the system needs to incorporate the hands-on and continue so that we can reap the benefits of that.
If I can add to it, I mean, I think the thing I would add to it is it's provide a space to be curious. I think for me, that's one of the really important things about education systems. And there's ways that at times education systems feel like they try to kill our curiosity and kill our creativity. But I really think that's one of the things that Fab Labs provide that LLMs aren't really able to do. There's ways that we can engage with a large language model to be able to ask certain types of questions, which I do see as an opportunity, when you are in those instances where you might be isolated. But I think, for me, a lot of education, a lot of learning, it's about being able to be curious and being able to tap into that curiosity, explore that curiosity through physical devices, being able to ask these what-if questions, but also alongside peers, alongside mentors, alongside mentees.
You must see this every day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be a total downer, but I feel like part of the answer to your question is, like, in my opinion, different for school than both of you guys were just talking about social settings and curiosity, things that are actually much more universal. So I think the answer to, like, why do we still go to school is some weird mixture of, like, inertia and the fact that teens, at least the people I work with, are kind of like in this ghetto. Like, there's no place in the world for them in terms of, jobs or creativity or anything like that. So school's job is to create a space where they can create good relationships, to some extent prepare for the future. But that's kind of separate from the education question. And I feel like that's one of the things we struggle with the most, where I feel like a lot of people's relationship with AI, which has totally transformed our work in like 95% positive ways, just to be clear, but it encourages a certain like culture of convenience or carelessness, or it's like everything is just one prompt away. So I think people are trying to figure out what's their relationship to effort in the first place. And I think those kinds of themes like curiosity or connecting with people that matter to you will remain necessary regardless of whether they happen in a school. So.
Can we go to respond to each other?
Please,
like, the school setting is one that, and if it was working as it was designed, there are opportunities to fail, and you can recover from the failing, right? So once you have access to things that have what's perceived to be the right answers all the time, sometimes that can be a crutch. Like, I give up and I'd like to go seek help. In school, sometimes if you're in an appropriate setting, you can be in a position to stumble and say, what do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? There are people resources around me, there are physical resources around me, and there are the LLMs as well. And so which one of them is appropriate for this setting, and not treat failure like you are a failure, right? Which is unfortunately some things that happen in school, like we're gonna hold you back because you did not pass this muster. But sometimes they set bars that allow you to challenge yourself, and you can rise to the occasion and advance. So sometimes it works to their advantage, and sometimes it works to their disadvantage. So I like the healthy form of failing to be in schools more, but we're stuck with the systems we have right now.
And I think that dynamic, in my opinion at least, it's just being like exacerbated or highlighted by LLMs. It's not new necessarily. Because I feel like school, in my opinion, one of its biggest challenges is this like preparation culture. Like, school is preparing you for more school, is preparing you for a job, is preparing you for whatever. And so we create all these somewhat artificial grading systems or whatever that lead to some of the challenges that you're talking about.
And that idea of productive failure and what happens to effort, these things are so, I think, top of mind today because it feels like the wheels are being greased and things are becoming so much easier. Something that came up in our conversation was this idea of hard fun. And hard fun is kind of a lot of how you learn in a makerspace, in a fab lab. You laser cut something and it doesn't fit. What do? You have to do it again, but that means you have to go back into your CAD model. You have to go back and like redo all of these things, and what if you did it wrong? And I was thinking a lot of the things that were hard for me in architecture school will never be hard for anyone again. And this idea of hard fun and using that as a tool for learning, what happens to that now? Where does that go? And thinking is still,
I think thinking is still the hard fun, but you know, what happens to hard fun in this new age, in this new atmosphere? I don't know, Marcelo, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can kick this off. I mean, I think even when we look back to the sort of the genesis of the Fab Lab movement and thinking about digital fabrication, this idea that you can now create this computer-based file to go and laser cut things for you so you're not manually doing all the woodworking yourself. I think people had some of the same kind of concerns of like, okay, well, you're not going to have to go and completely redesign this thing because it broke. You can actually just go back and fix the file now. And so I think some of what the shift is probably going to allow us to do is to even go further in our ability to be creative, but go further in our ability to try out new ideas. And to, again, as I mentioned earlier, to kind of really be curious and to go deeper. I think there are going to be things that do fall more by the wayside, right? Again, you don't have to do perhaps all the nitty gritty of writing every line of that program now. But I think a lot of the thought processes are still going to be there. A lot of the underlying ideas are still going to be there. And again, I think we will hopefully have an opportunity to go further and go deeper in the types of things that we can explore now.
And how do you get kids to do that?
You want me to jump in there?
I mean, if you want to. I was going to say, my really fast response to that is do a better job of setting up context and a better job of setting up an actual reason for them to do these things. I think a lot of the critiques, a lot of things that are coming out around people's concerns with LLMs and chat, Claude, et cetera, is because we haven't really created good reasons for students to learn a lot of the stuff that we want them to learn. And so some of it goes back to us as educators, like, all right, we can't just give them the problem set and say, good luck, just because. It's really, I think, a lot about, and this is what I think we've all sort of mentioned, this idea of setting up a better context, setting up a better purpose for that learning that are connected to their interests, to their passions. Thinking about the video that was shown with Seymour earlier. Seymour talked about him wanting to learn certain things and that being the thing that's the driver, as opposed to it just being the educator saying, this is the thing that you have to learn right now, go and learn it.
Yeah, you make them learn what they want to learn. Yeah.
Theoretically, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think for us, one of our biggest challenges in this space has been that when people look to school, they look to school to cover everything, and different people have definitions of what everything means. But internally, we often look very enviously at all these other contexts that are so clearly defined, like when you join a football team, like the nature of football structures your practice. It gives you a way to perform and exhibit your work. You have all these interdependent relationships that motivate what you're doing. You're expecting to be sore at the end of practice. There are all these properties that I think are largely missing from most educational environments. And I think when these kind of contradictions come up, I think you're right, we have to create these new contexts. And I think one of our challenges is with the football team, when somebody walks on the field, they've decided, I want to play football. But in our context, people don't necessarily know what they want to do, or they think they want to do something, but it's not really what they want to do because they haven't done it yet. There's a lot of complexity to it. And I think the bar, at least that we try to hold ourselves to, is that if something's worth learning, it should be able to be useful in the context that the learner is in, going back to what I was saying about preparation. But that really requires thinking out what is the context, what's the social context? Because it's not just about one day you'll be able to use this in a job doing X, Y, or Z. So we still haven't found our football team yet, but that's one of our biggest, I think, questions.
One of the hard elements of learning is learning not the concepts and the processes that you do in the settings in Fab Labs or schools, but learning about who you are while you're going through these processes. So the hard fun is sometimes trying on different identities. And to facilitate that, we need to make the stairs lower, so people can try a lot of different aspects and try on identities more rapidly. So when you say you can do things quickly and some things fall by the wayside, you also hopefully get more stairs around you because you can say, I'd like to get started with this. Let me see if this is part of my identity. Let me see if this is who I am. And if you take a step in a certain direction and it doesn't work out for you, you can rapidly pick yourself up and go maybe this is, or I actually found that this is hard and I want to take the next step and I'm going to try different things to get here because as we all know, if you're being guided by an instructor or written material books, sometimes it doesn't cover everything you need to know to take those steps. And LLMs definitely can sometimes choose a path that they think you want to go on, but you wanted to go over here. And it's probably hard to step back and say, actually, no, I don't want to go where you're going. I see this path and I want to get there. So there's ways to get on the step in the first place, like how do you even get onto the field? Making that easy for a lot of things in different contexts, vinyl cutting, sports, different history, right? So finding ways to get into a space, try it on, and when you're challenged, do you want to continue or do you want to go to another space? I think that's where some of the hard fun comes in, and it allows us to try on identities, which is part of the hard part of growing up in general while you're in these school contexts.
Absolutely. And I'm wondering, as educators, how do you scaffold that experience in your own environments? I know you're in a high school setting, you two are both in university settings, and kids are at different stages of life, but everyone is still kind of trying to figure out who they are and what they want to do next. I'm wondering if you could speak to your own practice.
Yeah, I think for us, it goes back to that producer-director analogy. Something else that same student said to the mom, she was like, yeah, the staff are really great. I can't quite tell if they're like my teachers or my caseworkers or my therapists. And the reason I mention that is because for us at least, instead of starting with the kind of content or the skills that we think people need, it's almost always starting with the person and their perception of their needs, even if we disagree with their perception, because then that's its own project. Like one of the biggest lessons from the first year of work, which sounds so obvious now in retrospect, but it's like you can't work on a problem with somebody unless they see that there's a problem, and they don't see that there's a problem unless they are seeing the same thing you're seeing. And so whether that's around like emotional or social stuff, or the way they approach projects, or the value of an intellectual skill, it really forces us to just start with that like relationship and conversation. So it's ended up putting us into this more mentor, coach, weird friend role, which has been extremely valuable in figuring out not only what we need to scaffold, but then getting kind of the buy-in to do that scaffolding together.
I guess I would say one of the things that we think about, and within some of my work, I do also work with elementary school kids, middle school kids, high school, et cetera. But I think a lot of it is about helping people realize that there's like a million pathways that they can get to success, and that success looks a million different ways. And to really help them also see that like they can define their own path. And some of that happens through the different types of role models, adults around them, through the different sorts of mentors or even peers that sort of occupy the different spaces that they might be in. But just to get them to the point where they don't feel like they have to follow a fixed path. And again, I think that's one thing that working inside the sort of Fab Lab type context starts to support. This idea that you can branch off in all the different ways, go down this path. Maybe it's not going to get you directly where you're trying to go right away, but there's still a lot of productive things happening within that space. And the other part I'd add to it is that really trying to move away from very standard ways of assessing the sort of the learning, the development that students are experiencing, so that we can start to validate some of the things that we can observe that are taking place, but that might not be showing up on that ACT that they eventually have to take. So I think that's one of the other ways, because it starts to also help them see the ways that they might be growing, and the fact that there are adults, other people in the space that are also seeing that and are also validating it, can start to shift some of their own expectations of what a learning setting or what a learning experience should look like.
I'm pretty basic on the scaffolding and the structures. One of that is like, if you're reading a book, sometimes it's helpful to have a bookmark, right? So that you can go back to where you were. So in a physical space, giving people permission to pause where they were, not have to completely reset. So that means you have to provide them storage, right? So a plastic bin is my friend, because like you can freeze something and say, I'm gonna make it easy for you, just like a bookmark. You could come back and pick up where you were so that you can continue customizing and being in this space, because context switches sometimes undo a lot of work that you try to do. So just giving people the pause and pick up where you left off without, and the plastic bin is important too, because if I had these two in my lab and like Alec thought that this paintbrush was his and was really Marcelo's, and it's like, where is my paintbrush? So just like saying, I'm going to just put these things away and allow people to continue where they left off so they can continue those explorations. And that's a huge part of, like, you know, I spend a lot of time providing the space just for that and thinking about it, because a lot of people will go wall to wall with tools and they won't think about where can you store anything, right? So that's the failure mode I've seen for a long time. So I try to be thoughtful about, like, how do I allow people to pick up where they left off, have those important bookmarks so they continue their explorations, and I think that helps them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say in our work in PK-12, we think a lot about the educator as the designer of the learning experience, and how do we empower educators to actually feel ownership over what they're doing. And we think that in that way, that provides scaffolding for kids to actually explore what they want to explore, because everybody's invested in what they're doing in the same space. So you know, we only have 1 minute left. I'm gonna end with one question, which is, what tool can you absolutely not live without? And if you had an unlimited budget, what tool would you put in your makerspace? Who wants to go first?
I'll start with the boring answer, which is the laser cutter. But the two things I want to highlight about it are, one of the things I love about Lego is that it lets young people without fine motor skills make things precisely. That's true of a lot of tools in the Fab Lab context, but I feel like the laser cutter is a great, like, entry point to that. And I also really like that it introduces people to the importance of, like, your representation, where you're making a stencil, or the difference between your center line and the outline of a vector file. And I feel like those are both very important ideas, and I feel like it's a perfect starting point. In terms of what I couldn't, if I had an unlimited budget, honestly, these days, I feel like we're much less limited by our tools than we are by, like, interface and experience and operations. So if I could spend that unlimited budget on LLM tokens, I would. So.
I'll make this super fast, and I think, quickly say, 3D printers. I didn't actually do a lot of 3D printing, but I first saw a 3D printer here at MIT back in 2002, and that just sort of, like, opened up my mind to, like, oh my gosh, you can print in this whole other dimension. And so tools like that can really help people start to see new opportunities. But to your idea around user experiences and interfaces, I think anything that we can do to make our spaces more accessible to people with different cultures, across languages, as well as thinking about people with disabilities. And any tools that can really help us to create better interfaces for them and for us, I think are just hugely important.
Quickly, a safe plasma cutter for me, because I've seen those things in action, and when you're telling somebody that you are literally creating lightning right now, like, you can't, it's like, oh my gosh, I have control over something like this. It makes people feel awesome. And I would use that plasma cutter to make, you know, you could cut metal with it and stuff like that. So I would make a cool display case, because the most important thing to me is being able to show the work of the people who come through the space and being able to inspire folks. And so, like, that would be my answer.
Amazing. Thank you so much, this incredible panel. You guys are fantastic. I think that's it.
Thank you. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Is everybody okay? Are we? Yes, thank you. So I have our next panel is going to be around strategic impact. I have the privilege of introducing the moderator. He has a 25-year career in advancing education, humanitarian work, and strategic initiatives or philanthropy initiatives around education. And he's also very fashionable. I try to get in his closet all the time, but I'm going to bring to the stage Glenn Harris. Thank you. Awesome. You want this mic?
Doing here. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Rodney, for the introduction, and great to be here with everyone today. As Rodney mentioned, my name is Glenn Harris, and I'm a global program manager with the Caterpillar Foundation. I'm so excited to have this conversation today with all of you about how STEM education, especially hands-on STEM education, is more important today than ever. You know, just before we jump into things, I'd like to share with you a statistic. You might have heard that it's projected that by the year 2033, there will be 3.8 million job openings in the manufacturing sector in the US. However, it's also projected that up to half of those may go unfilled because of talent mismatches and shortages. You know, too often gaps like this are addressed in silos, with industry on one side, philanthropy on the other, and educators stuck in the middle without the tools that they really need. So I'm really excited that today with our conversation, we're going to focus on what becomes possible when corporate philanthropy, nonprofits, and industry all come together to co-design a solution, keeping educators and students at the center. So with that, I'd like our panelists to introduce themselves. Could you please tell us your role, and then also a little bit about the lens you bring to this conversation?
Sure.
Suchit, I'll start with you.
Perfect, thank you, Glenn. So my name is Suchit Jain. I work for SolidWorks Dassault Systems. I'm Vice President of Strategy Business Development there. And for people, I think a lot of you probably use SolidWorks, our software out there for designing everything in manufacturing and everything physical you see around you. And for people who are not doing it, you should look into it. I do a lot of different things, including our go-to-market on the product side of things, but something which I'm very passionate about is what we call as early engagement, which directly relates to this conversation about, you know, creating the sort of the future workforce, if you will. So investing early with students. We work a lot with the startups of, you know, these students going out, joining the workforce, creating businesses and so on. So we have a passion to work with them both at the middle school, high school level, but also at the, you know, when they start their careers and so on, and kind of lifelong, and we are kind of a catalyst, all that process. And in some ways, we always say we pay it forward because we are really creating not only brilliant engineers and innovation, but also our future customers. So that's what I focus on.
Super, thank you. Amanda.
And I'm Amanda Hilligus, the Vice President of the Caterpillar Foundation. We have two pillars, sustainable natural infrastructure and workforce development, where a key pillar of our work is STEM education in those early years as people aspire to careers in the workforce. And excited to get the conversation started today.
Terrific. Well, thank you both. It's great to have you here. Amanda, maybe I'll direct my first question to you. As a corporate philanthropy leader, you see how quickly technical skills requirements in industry are evolving. How do you see digital fabrication training really prepare the future workforce by creating that resilient, problem-solving perspective that they need?
Yeah, well, Glenn, the pace of change in STEM, as you all know, is unlike anything we have seen in the past. AI, automation, all of these changes are really changing what those entry-level jobs look like. So the Caterpillar Foundation is really focused on expanding STEM education in that hands-on work, because middle school and high school are key inflection points, because that's when students are really starting to think about or think of themselves in those careers. What might a career really look like? And we all know that if a student hasn't even touched a laser cutter or a 3D printer or design software, they can't really picture themselves within that career in the future. So that's why we think it's so important to partner with the Fab Foundation. We have been working with them for over 3 years, deploying about $1.3 million in grants in Industry 4.0 aligned opportunities, that hands-on experience. And the magic is not in the equipment alone, it's that students can see themselves. They start prototyping, they look at problem solving, and apply those digital tools to the future. So it's that early exposure, partners like the Fab Foundation and the schools that really enable the success.
Super, thank you. You know, continuing on that theme of supporting programs that advance hands-on STEM learning, Suchit, when you think about how Dassault System partners with these sorts of programs, do you see yourselves beyond being just a funder? Are you an active co-creator with local stakeholders?
Yeah, of course, and you know, funding for us is probably the least part of it. I mean, of course, there's money and everything, a lot of things drive that, but at the high school and middle school level, you know, we always talk about how we can do the mentorships and so on. So a lot of our people, if you think about students, I'll take FIRST robotics competition as an example. So we even at middle school level, we will be there in the pits, as in when the competitions are going on. A lot of our employees are mentors for these competitions. So we, of course, provide the software for them to be able to do what they need to do. Sometimes we'll provide a little bit of funding here and there, sponsorships, et cetera. But more importantly, we are there for them when they need the most. And then also, one of the things which we are very proud of is, our certification program has become an industry standard. So if you're in high school as a student and you want to go into engineering or whatever, when you're applying to college, sometimes that certification actually helps them in getting into the right college, and beyond that, even into getting into the right right job or whatever they need to do. So we invest a lot of time and effort at the grassroots level. And that for us is very important because, as you just said, kids learn by doing. All of us learn by doing. And in this world of AI, everybody talks about LLMs and everything. But then the question is, okay, you can do certain things, but then you got to make it. Yeah. So that part of the experience, and you rightly said, you need to get them at that early age. And this is why I'm sure you guys, a lot of you are aware of the Fab in a Box project, which we have been talking about, and that's why we launched that as well. Working with all you guys.
Super. And I think really a common theme is about how are we expanding access to those hands-on STEM education opportunities. Amanda, could you tell us a little bit about how the Caterpillar Foundation strategy really helps not only bridge that digital divide, but also increases access and opportunity for youth to get their hands on high-tech equipment and mentorship too?
Yeah, well, I think the important point is access is the great equalizer. You can't really aspire to a career that you've never been exposed to. And we intentionally focus on middle and high school when young learners are starting to think about what their career means. We put tools and experiences directly into those classrooms that have been historically underserved by STEM education. It's not just equipment. You talked about Fab in the Box. It's an extension of the lab. Think about laser printers, software, problem-solving tools. But we don't just drop technology into the classroom. First, we introduce it to the teachers. Then they are introducing it to the students. And so that entire ecosystem, the makers, the community leaders, the students, and the teachers are all together improving those problem-solving skills.
Super, thank you. And I know we've had now 2 references to Fab in a Box. For those of you who are not familiar with that technology, the Fab Foundation really created this as almost miniaturization of a full-on Fab Lab on wheels, so it allows the Fab Foundation to bring STEM education to classrooms that otherwise wouldn't necessarily have access to it. And of course, the Fab Lab, as I'm sure you all know, is a fabrication space. And I really think about the community as being driven by engineers, scientists, educators, students, and many others who really thrive on iteration, rapid prototyping, failing fast. So Suchit, I'd really be interested to hear about knowing that there is this global Fab network. I think it's in 160 countries now, 3,000 labs, which is really incredible. With how Dassault Systèmes has worked with that network and community, what learnings have you taken away or even practices that you've adopted in your own work?
Yeah, for us, and I think some of you who were present yesterday at our, we did a little reception, and I said the same thing. Our relationship with Dr. Neil Gershenfeld and the Fab Foundation started, I think, around 2014, and we've always, by the way, SolidWorks history is 30 years. We've been involved in creating programs for STEM education so very early on. We've been always involved, and so when we met this idea of, where technology is challenging and economically is challenging to get all of these things, how do we bring kind of this local way of making and creation, which is what Fab Foundation is. We start to think about it, and we met with Neil. We made some strategic decisions of investing in Fab Labs in different parts of the world. Every year we'll invest with one where we will bring both our sort of a little bit of money, if you will, but also work and make them sustainable and viable. So we did one in Rwanda, we did in Nepal, in Bhutan, in Chile. And Fab in a Box sort of came out of it because Neil always had this idea of scaling, like how do we go from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 1 million to 10 million and so on. And then we said maybe Fab in a Box, when kids are in schools and so on, rather than getting them to the maker spaces, because how many can we create in all these local communities, in libraries and so on, can we bring a maker space to the classroom? So for us as Dassault System, the learnings have been just enormous through this. One is, of course, we are about software, but the bits and atoms, right? Center for Bits and Atoms has taught us very well that, they go hand in hand. So software and the design thinking powers the machines, if you will, and after a while they become intertwined. So we have learned a lot on how to make that easy, especially if we can make it easier for younger generation, then those same things when are used in practice in the professional world, same principles apply. So we have made our software better because of that, those interactions, which also helps in applying that to the professional world. And another enormous thing which we have observed is that we are creating, we call it paid forward. Everything we do actually is not really part of a CSR program in our company. It's more about creating future customers. So, these students become enormous, they are innovating, they become powerful, and then they remember our software because it's easy for them. So it's been a great journey, great experience, great partnership of everything around it for the last, I'd say 15 or so years.
That's great to hear, thank you. Continuing, Amanda, on the theme of the Fab ecosystem, I think of Fab Labs all over the world with really incredible innovators, makers, educators who are all doing grassroots work in their own communities. But how is that collaboration between Fab Foundation and the Caterpillar Foundation help the Caterpillar Foundation really make unique impact in the communities it serves?
Yeah, well, I think the Fab ecosystem is powerful because it's already embedded. Educators, makers, community leaders are on the ground. They're doing the work every day. And importantly, it's successful, it's effective, it achieves results. We love working with Fab Foundation. So our role really as a funder is to amplify that success, support the cross-sector collaboration, and expand it. Like I said, we've been working with Fab Foundation for 3 years, and for example, in Decatur, we've been working with that school since the early 2000s. So we're layering in the community a very, very effective program with Fab in the Box and all of the ecosystem around it. That kind of impact, having those partners on the ground, deep, local, sustained, a very successful partner like Fab Foundation, is only possible when we lean into that cross-sector collaboration.
Super, thank you. So as we're getting into the last few minutes of our conversation, I wanted to reflect back. We're at 25 years of Fab Labs and having been a network. As we look ahead to that next 25 years, I'd love to hear from both of you what gets you excited about the ongoing collaboration and what the future of STEM education might look like. Sujit?
Well, that's a pretty broad question, but as we were talking about, one thought is coming to me, which I always talk about quite a bit. And if you remember, we talked about gravity. Gravity is, well, at Newton time, it was a force. But then Einstein came along and he said, well, gravity is a field, right? And I think about the ecosystems, and I always say that one-to-one relationships are doing something here and something here is like gravity. But if we can turn it into an ecosystem, then it becomes a field, which means the field just forces everything towards what you want to do. And for us, it's at Dassault Systems, what we have learned is this field has worked in both ways, right? It has worked for us very well because it creates our future customers, this whole ecosystem of the partnerships with Fab Labs, the investments we have been doing in early engagement, as we call it, the students, the startups, and all of that. And it works for the students as well, because if they participate in it, then a lot of things in their journey, in their careers, and everything, and it works for the society at large as well. So I would just say, so investing for any company, students, you guys, what you are doing is enormous, because you are helping create that ecosystem which drives everything towards that. We cannot stop doing that, right? And of course, thanks to Dr. Neil Gershenfeld, who started some of the Fab movement, and they are creating this ecosystems and field, and we are all sort of participating in that. So I would say that's that. And on the future of education and everything, I think with the world of AI, and you can have anywhere you go, there people are talking about, is LLM the right thing, or should the students be learning this way and that way? One thing I would just add one more thing, and I know I'm sitting at MIT here. I mean, teaching is everything, but the way things are being taught and all that probably will change, and AI probably will have an impact on it. And it's not just the learning is not just about the classroom, and it's not just about a single teacher, right? Learning happens outside the classroom. It happens from the mentors and everything else. So I think the future of learning probably is as distributed as that, and not just in a classroom. I mean, we're already seeing that.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. Amanda.
So building on that, what excites me the most is we're really at an inflection point where hands-on STEM learning is becoming kind of foundational to tomorrow. And so very simply, we want to scale what works. The collaboration is about stronger, more resilient communities, and the goal is not just short-term impact, it's systems change. That's what makes models like Fab in the Box so successful. And we want to equip even more educators and give more students the confidence to see themselves in STEM careers for the future. That's what's exciting.
Super, thank you. I think as maybe one takeaway from our conversation today is that the future of hands-on STEM education isn't going to be built by any single company, funder, or even a classroom. It really will be built by ecosystems that remain intentionally aligned around student success and real-world outcomes. So thank you, Amanda, thank you, Suchit, and thank you all that you do as a community to help create that next generation of innovators. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for that. I'm going to bring to the stage our next moderator, Anastasia Pistafidou. I got that right, thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last session of today, where we will do a kind of mental exercise that will let you think over lunch. So we talk about scale, and scale is very relative. So if you're an ant, you see a tiger very, very big, but if you're an airplane, you see a tiger very, very small. So scale is very relative. So now we would like to invite you to enter in a time travel where we would like to think about how were you 10 years ago. We just found out with our speakers that we are all closing the 10th year anniversary of our programs and our initiatives, so 10 years ago. And I would like first to introduce myself. I'm Anastasia Pistafidou, yes, I was introduced. I am the co-founder of Fab Academy, and you can go to the next slide. Oh, we should have a... Yes. Yeah? Oh. Should be louder?
Normally you will start with an idea, and then something will happen. The difference between art and science is being methodical, and this is what we do. We teach how an artist and a creative can become a little bit more scientist, and a scientist can become a little bit more creative.
Okay, thank you. So we would like to introduce our speakers. Yes. We have Michael Stone, Vice President of Innovative Learning at Public Education Forward, Southeast Tennessee. We have Luciana Assinari. She is the coordination of Fab Academy and Academany, which is all the programs of the Fab Lab network. Tom Thomas, that you already heard his presentation in the morning from Fab Lab Kerala Startup Mission, Chief Operating Officer, and Liz Whitehoff, that many of you may know already. She's EduFab Director and K-12 Education, working closely with Fab Foundation. So we will start with Michael. Michael, I want you to go back 10 years ago and tell me, what was your vision and mission back there?
10 years ago, I left a high school teaching job to open a Fab Lab in a high school. And I didn't know what a Fab Lab was. I told them in the interview I'd never heard of them. I had never seen a 3D printer before other than on YouTube. I was completely unfamiliar with the technology, and the principal asked a very important question in the interview. He said, that's okay that you don't have the knowledge or expertise. Are you willing to learn, and are you willing to learn in front of kids? Right. I had come out of teaching calculus and computer science. I'd never been asked that question. I had expertise in those fields and no expertise in digital fabrication, but it changed for me the trajectory of my career. It was my Fab Academy moment that Lass talked about this morning for her. Over the next 10 years, we polled now more than 50,000 people in industry, employers, teachers, parents, students, and we've asked them, what should happen? What's the outcome of K-12 education? If we're successful, how do students develop? And we've aggregated their responses, and basically this is where they consistently point. They talk about traditional academics like reading, writing, and arithmetic. That certainly is foundational and still important. But they also talk about technical fluency. Students need to be able to learn how to learn new technology and apply that knowledge in given context. And they talk a lot about we call them essential skills or human skills or durable skills, these sort of the kinds of five foci that Lego talked about earlier today, the creative problem solving and critical thinking and communication. Unfortunately, in large-scale K-12 systems, this is what we've actually built. We've built a system that solely captures data and formally develops students in one of the three legs. So the three legs all matter. There seems to be consensus that all three legs are critically important, but we've built systems that only provide real growth and collect data and provide insight on one of those legs. So we found Fab Labs in 2014, 2015. In our community, we discovered the work of the Fab Foundation and the things that everyone's been talking about this week. And for us, it became a compelling mechanism to say, what if we could use Fab Lab in a K-12 environment to build the other two legs of the stool? So we started doing that work. Volkswagen in our community paid attention. Since then, Ford Philanthropy has invested. We've raised more than $15 million in funding over the last decade. And today, that looks like growth from one Fab Lab in 2017 at one highly innovative public school to now in our local community, 61 labs, all in K-12 public schools, spread from literally kindergarten students using the exact same types of equipment that we see here on campus at MIT. And now we've expanded to, I think we're in 7 states with 104 labs and reaching about 72,000 students per school year, having meaningful experiences. And I think for us, I'll end by saying we've leaned hard into the idea of all the stuff that we've heard this morning, that it's about providing context, it's about embracing Papert's sort of work to say when a student can make their thinking visible and they can make a functional solution to a real problem. And when you have teachers who are amazing educators who are willing to learn the technology but don't necessarily bring that skill set to the table, you have the ingredients to build a highly scalable system. And it turns out employers, corporate funders, philanthropic foundations are willing to jump on board because it creates a rising tide lifts all boats environment. So very excited about that work.
Oh, thank you. So Luciana, 10 years ago. Of course, the complexity of operation that Luciana is running, having to coordinate labs all over the world in different cultures, in different time zones. So how was it 10 years ago? What was the mission back then, and how it changed? How is the mission? What is the mission now?
Well, 10 to 12 years ago, I was entering to this incredible community through the doors of FAB14, who was the conference we did in Fab Blasts Barcelona. So from zero to a conference, and this was my entering to this world. My first assignment was, Tomás asked me to coordinate Fab Academy, which was a thing that was super complex for me. I was terrified to talk to Neil every day, but we sat there and we started to create systems and to start putting in place ways of normalizing what an educational environment should be. Because we have the focus of Academy and this collection of programs is providing these high skills to a community that is distributed. You have the local communities in these Fab Labs, but also globally connected, and this has a layer of complexity that sometimes is challenging to encompass. So we need to create a lot of systems around it, and it's built up to what is now today. Academy, and Neil says this all the time, is one of the most important programs for the network, because in a way it's what makes us create this sense of bonds, right? This network of people. Today I was reflecting on what it means to scale. When you think about scaling, you immediately think in numbers. Like we did a peak like 10 years ago, but now Academy, most of the Fab Academy programs are stabilized, and we have the same cohort of people every year, and we have the same amount of nodes. Many of them are continuously doing Academy throughout the year. So maybe scaling for us has been going up in numbers, stabilizing, and now it's solidifying these relationships. We are not thinking in the economy of scale as a traditional thing, but the economy of capabilities. We are building capabilities that are now creating new ecosystems and creating new different links for local communities and informing back to the Academy. So maybe we don't have more students enrolling every day, but our links spread wider. So yeah, many more there. What is this? I haven't clicked because I thought it was going to be like.
Yeah, okay.
So,
don't worry.
you know, these are the programs, you know, like Neil has explained this many, many times. I'm not going to bore you with the genesis of it, but we have this collection of programs that started with Fab Academy, jumped to the how to grow almost anything, and then Fab Academy and Fab Learning Academy. And now we're trying this new format that is Fab Futures. That is very exciting because it's another way of scaling with changing formats and changing the way we deliver. And there are many surprises in the pipeline because we've been talking to MIT Learn to see if we can combine this, our way of doing stuff, which is very hands-on, peer-to-peer, to this massive way of spreading knowledge. So many interesting things coming.
Thank you. So Tomás, you work for...
These are my fans.
You work with startups. You have a super Fab Lab, so you also equip schools with DIY low-cost Fab Labable tools and machines. And yeah, if we would talk about you 10 years ago, you would tell us, how was it?
So it was 8 years ago when I joined this organization. And right after I joined, I received an email from Neil. So background is we had already set up 22 labs. We had done 2 batches of Fab Academy. So everything was going great. And then Neil sends an email. Very politely, he said, you are not equipped to run Fab Academy this year. You're not going to be a node in 2018. And then that really sent an earthquake into our entire system. We had invested so much, and then we are being told we are not good enough. And I think that is a point where I would say our scaling really started, because we started looking at what we didn't do well, what needs to be done. I think the projects that we did in our first couple of batches really speak about the way we were approaching building ecosystem. So we were just ticking a few boxes. We were just building things that would just work. But it is not about really making things just work if you are really looking at building in scale. The change from 2016 to 26 can really be seen in what our students build now compared to what we used to build. The change from just getting things done to doing things well, inspiring people, inspiring more people, and it's that inspiration that really builds the demand, and that demand is then what helps you scale. And our goal is to create more programs that can inspire more people, not just engineers. How do we bring in artists? How do we bring in educators? And how do we really democratize access to machines and get more people into digital fabrication? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So Liz, from Fab Lab Pittsburgh and 2 Mobile Fab Labs, then what was the trajectory? How was it back then when you started with the Fab Academy, and how has it changed?
Well, in 2016, I was opening a new Fab Lab at the Science Center. I was hiring staff, developing programs. I was mobilizing 2 mobile Fab Labs, and then I thought I should also take Fab Academy that same year. So 2016, I finished Fab Academy. I graduated in Shenzhen with my little Zen garden box, which I really needed by the time graduation came through. It was frustrating, challenging, eventually life-changing, to be honest. As soon as I recovered from my PTSD from the random generation machine, I was able to start thinking about education, because I'm an educator at heart. So this is an amazing tool set, and how can we empower teachers to use these in the classroom so that we can reach more students? So I started thinking about scaling in a sense that how do we reach more kids? We reach them through teachers. Kids go to school, teachers teach at school, so that's really where I started focusing my work. Shortly thereafter, I put a working group together to work on what eventually became Fab Learning Academy, but at the time was just a working group talking about how we could do this. I also started my dissertation work at the University of Pittsburgh, so I researched really what are the barriers to instilling this type of, scaling this type of educational approach in schools, and through my research with teachers and also other stakeholders, I developed this Ishikawa diagram, fishbone diagram as it were, which is kind of disheartening when you look at it. These are 6 different problem areas that were identified in the research, and kind of a little bit of details underneath each problem area. But looking at this really made me think about what can we do better. And I was also still working in this working group about the Fab Academy, and I thought there's got to be a way to start chipping away at these problems. So specifically talking about teacher technology comfort, pedagogy and integration knowledge, the support network and curriculum alignment, or the kind of fishbones that we started working on for Fab Learning Academy, and we transformed that into our methodology that we're using today in Fab Learning Academy. So Fab Learning Academy is actually how to teach almost anything with digital fabrication. And we really focus on three sections, or 3 overlapping sections, as it were: technology, the science of learning, and innovative practices. And really, technology is self-explanatory, but the science of learning is really important. It's about constructionism. It's about the pedagogy behind how these tools function, or how these tools can function in learning, and how students learn, how teachers teach. And then the innovative practices is where really those 2 things meet, and what is actually happening in a classroom. So learning to 3D print is a lot different than learning to 3D print with 30 kids in a history class in a 50-minute school where you only meet every other day. So really making all of that work in formal education is something that we're really focusing on Fab Learning Academy. And 10 years after I successfully completed Fab Academy, through the grace of God, I was able to, here we are sitting on the stage, and actually tonight we'll graduate our 2nd cohort of Fab Learning graduates from Fab Learning Academy.
Nice.
So thank you all. We will not keep you long because lunch is being served. Just to wrap up, we talk about from being makers to being reflective practitioners or critical makers. We talk about mesh networks, mesh static, LLM models. So I think we shouldn't be talking numbers when we talk about scale. We could see scale like a fractal. We could see how our actions are, the things that we put in place are nodes, they are dynamizers, and they propagate new sprouts. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Awesome. So we have about 2 more hours of panels. Just joking. So we're going to get you guys to lunch real quick. We have something very, very special tonight at the reception for the Academy graduates. You guys got to get ready to rock out. All right. So we will see you guys. If you go to lunch at the MIT Media Lab, it's on the 6th floor. If you want to talk to any of the speakers today, they'll be around. Thank you guys so much, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.